Chapter 1037. The mermaid felt more like a newly born sacred source life form to Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan remembered that when the princess had just gained consciousness, she had been very persistent about her name. However, the girl formed by the source moving water soul did not occupy his soul like a sacred source life form. At that moment, Lin Yuan saw the mermaid swaying her long blue hair, which was made of waves, with an aggrieved expression. It was like a little girl who had just become sensible and wanted to get close to her parents, but was ignored by her parents. Lin Yuan hurriedly replied, "Why don't I call you Blue?" Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, the man and the young lady murmured, "Bai Lan." Then, a pure smile appeared on his face. The mermaid's water gently brushed past his cheek, and it was as if a cold lip had touched his face. Lin Yuan asked when he saw that the 12 water ribbons around Bai Lan were much smaller than the previous water pillars. "Azure, can you control the size of the hose?" Bai Lan nodded her head and replied gently. "Master, Bai Lan can control the size of the hose by changing the concentration of the water element in the hose." After saying that, Bai Lan lifted her blue-white hair and swung her fishtail. The 12 meandering water ribbons seemed to have instantly turned into 12 strands of blue silk, twining around the dark blue fishtail. Bai Lan then tossed her fishtail, and 12 streaks of blue silk quickly expanded in the sky. They formed 12 water pillars that were nearly 50 meters long and half a meter wide. Lin Yuan said to Bai Lan when he saw that she could easily control the size of the water belt. "Bai Lan, wrap these 12 water ribbons around your tail. I'll use more water elemental heavenly maiden grade elemental pearls to increase your strength later." Bai Lan nodded cheerfully at Lin Yuan's words. After all, none of the Fays could resist the temptation of increasing their strength. Just as he was about to return to the Spirit Lock spatial zone with Blue, Lin Yuan looked up at the spirit craftsmen working on the Reflection Sun King Lotus. Lin Yuan noticed that these spirit craftsmen had more or less amber spots on their heads. The only difference was that the amber light spots on some people's heads were more intense, while some were fainter. Of course, among the nearly 100 spirit craftsmen working on the hidden Wyrm lake, there were also over 20 who did not have amber dots on their heads. Upon seeing this scene, Lin Yuan blinked. He didn't expect that after he awakened the power of faith, the world he saw was different from before. He could judge the closeness of a person to a certain extent based on how much faith they had in him. Lin Yuan looked at Wendy in his arms and asked softly, "Wendy, do you know what emotions the power of faith comes from?" Wendy shook her head in confusion. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's question, Morbius replied, "That's right. The power of faith mainly comes from emotions. Different emotions produce different power of faith. The gratification, sincere friendship, admiration, longing, respect, and other emotions that elders have for their juniors will produce the power of faith. However, emotions like love cannot be attributed to the power of faith. To a certain extent, Lin Yuan, you can judge whether a person has another purpose for you based on whether they have the power of faith for you or how much power of faith they have." Upon hearing Morbius' words, Lin Yuan immediately understood what it meant. If a person seems to be very nice to you, but really doesn't have any faith in you, so to a certain extent, this person was not sincere to you. Unless this person has fallen in love with you. This kind of power could be said to be a power that many people dreamed of because it could see straight into one's heart. At the same time, Lin Yuan remembered the over 20 spirit craftsmen who didn't have the power of faith for him at the hidden Wyrm lake. As for these spirit craftsmen, apart from the normal remuneration, Lin Yuan would not pour any resources into them. After Lin Yuan returned to the Spirit Lock spatial zone with Blue, he immediately took out all the heavenly maiden grade elemental pearls in the Spirit Lock spatial zone. He didn't care if these heavenly maiden grade elemental pearls had pearls or not, and he fed them all to Blue. Anyway, with the current spirit chi density in the Spirit Lock spatial zone, there was no need to store the heavenly maiden grade elemental pearls. The aquamarine elemental shellfish's production speed was enough for the floating island whale to absorb. A large chest of heavenly maiden grade elemental pearls fused into Blue's body, but its grade did not increase as quickly as Lin Yuan imagined. Then, Lin Yuan reacted. The important thing about the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls was the purity of the water element, not the quantity. An entire chest of heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls finally raised Blue Blue's grade to Gold 2/Legend. Lin Yuan immediately checked Gold Blue's true data. Fey name, source moving water, stream, Fey species, source species/sacred source species, Fey grade, Gold, 2 out of 10, Fey type, water, Fey quality, legend abilities frowny face rapid flow, water body flows rapidly. The energy formed by the water's flow can drive the water body to circulate in any place. Flow break, cut off the body and turn the water element carried by the body into a surging flow of water to attack the target. Water of faith, brew the power of faith into a warm flow of water. The warm flow of water brewed by the power of faith can nourish other life forms that use the power of faith as a source of power. Water of faith can promote life forms that use the power of faith as a source of power to quickly recover the consumed power of faith and slowly strengthen the power of faith contained in their bodies. At the same time, after the separated water of faith is taken back into the Tao body, the user can obtain power of faith equal to the increase of the target's water of faith. Faith possession, the host can fuse with the source moving water. After the fusion, the host can borrow all of the source moving water's power and inject the power of faith into the source moving water to strengthen the source moving water's original abilities. Exclusive skill frowny face power water soul, choose a kind of power and condense it into a soul of the source moving water. This kind of power can be freely chosen, but after choosing a kind of power, the other powers cannot be changed. This kind of power will affect the formation of the source moving water's abilities and other exclusive skills. When the source moving water receives the feedback of this power to a certain extent, it can make the source moving water comprehend willpower runes from the world according to the characteristics of each body's water element. When he saw Blue Blue's 2 new abilities, Lin Yuan's mind immediately became active. It could be said that Blue Blue's silver ability, Water of Faith, surprised Lin Yuan the most. With the Water of Faith, the power of faith in Wendy and the lizard totem could be rapidly improved. The second one was even better. End of this chapter. Chapter 1038. While increasing Wendy's and Lizard Ting's power of faith, Lin Yuan could also receive the power of faith in return. Although Lin Yuan was still in the exploration stage of using the power of faith, this could undoubtedly increase the amount of power of faith in the shrine in Lin Yuan's soul. According to the skill introduction, Water of Faith could immediately turn Blue's body into an item. In this case, if he gave the Water of Faith to the other apostles in the swamp world, could he gain the friendship of the other apostles? If this was feasible, then the apostles in the swamp world would become his tools. He could collect a lot of power of faith through the other apostles in the swamp world. Lin Yuan planned to try the feasibility of this method when he had the chance. As for Blue Blue's gold skill, faith possession, Lin Yuan could mobilize the power of faith himself and enhance Blue Blue's skill. It could be said that faith possession looked somewhat similar to the fusion between Xianing and his golden cat Fei. Looking at Blue Blue, Lin Yuan wondered if he and Blue Blue would become mermaids after fusing, right? However, in Lin Yuan's understanding, there seemed to be no male existence among mermaids. At the thought of this, Lin Yuan immediately did not want to continue thinking about it. Anyway, he did not necessarily have to use Blue Blue's gold skill, faith possession. When facing a strong enemy, he still had other means to deal with it. Then, Lin Yuan brought Blue Blue out of the Spirit Lock spatial zone and appeared next to the hidden WYRM lake again. Blue Blue, who had been promoted to gold, was much bigger than when she had been at bronze. There were also many accessories condensed from water elements on her body. Even Blue Blue's fishtail, which was originally shaped like a stream of water, had begun to grow blue tourmaline scales. Lin Yuan said to Blue Blue, "Blue, release the water element energy. Azure, release your water elemental energy. Let me see how far you can go with your water body." True data just now indicated that Blue Blue's water body could reach the level of a stream. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's command, Blue Blue swung its tail, and the 12 blue ribbons wrapped around its tail turned into 12 streams that were nearly 500 meters long in front of Blue Blue. Each stream was nearly 10 meters wide. Based on the twisting light and shadow in blue streams, Lin Yuan could see the rapid flow of the streams. In order not to destroy the facilities in the manor, the 12 meandering streams went straight into the sky with a wave of blue's arms. Lin Yuan felt that if he used flow severance now, it would really be like a huge waterfall falling from the sky. The spirit craftsman working on the shining Sun King Lotus looked at this scene in horror. Lin Yuan did not know what these spirit craftsmen were feeling at the moment, but the faith light above their heads was obviously a bit larger than before. Among the nearly 20 spirit craftsmen who didn't have faith in him, a dozen or so spirit craftsmen also had faint amber light spots above their heads. Upon seeing this, Lin Yuan still did not cross off this spirit craftsman who had faith in him from the list. In terms of benefits, spending resources to nurture these spirit craftsmen was far inferior to nurturing other spirit craftsmen who had stronger faith in him. At that moment, Morbius, Genius, and Chime's voices echoed in his mind at the same time. Lin Yuan, quickly come to the spirit lock spatial zone. Gray is in trouble. No! Something must have happened in the spirit lock spatial zone. Upon seeing this, Lin Yuan quickly returned to the spirit lock spatial zone with Bai Lan. After returning to the spirit lock spatial zone, Lin Yuan felt his scalp tingle. It was as though a thief had entered the spirit lock spatial zone. Lin Yuan saw a large amount of spirit chi and the elemental pearls stored in the spirit lock spatial zone constantly rushing toward Gray's eggshell. A faint cloud appeared on the eggshell like a child who was not full. Lin Yuan now had to face a choice. He did not know how long Gray would need to absorb spirit chi like this. If it took too long, the floating island whale and the elemental shellfish would be affected. Lin Yuan looked at the expanded spirit pool that was breaking down the energy ores in the golden discs at the bottom of the pool. Lin Yuan hurriedly took out nearly 100 golden discs from the bottom of the spirit pool. Lin Yuan found that the energy ores in more than 80 golden discs had been used up. Lin Yuan realized that he had not cared about the spirit chi consumption in the spirit lock spatial zone for almost a month. Lin Yuan quickly took out his energy ore reserves and poured a large amount of energy ores into the golden discs. After thinking about it, Lin Yuan decided not to interrupt Gray's sudden change. While Gray was greedily devouring the spirit chi, it was also greedily devouring the pure elemental energy in the elemental pearls. Yuan could not help but have a guess in his mind. Lin Yuan had heard his master, the Moon Empress, mention it when she had a question and answer session with him. The birth of a favored spirit would be accompanied by a shocking change. However, the phenomenon caused by the birth of the favored spirit was too big, and it would often attract the attention of many fays. An unhatched heavenly favor spirit was a great supplement for other fays. When ordinary fays devoured the unborn favored spirit of heaven, they might obtain shocking opportunities. Therefore, without the protection of a powerful fay, it would be very difficult for the spirit of heavenly favor to be born. As the spirit lock spatial zone was only 160 square meters in size, nothing could be seen. In the outside world, Gray could absorb spiritual chi and elemental energy like this. It would probably immediately absorb all the spiritual power and elemental energy in the entire royal city. It could be said to be an earth-shattering change. Furthermore, the birth of each favored spirit required a large amount of resources. In a situation where resources were insufficient, the heavenly chosen spirit would choose to bury its bloodline within its body, degenerating a portion of its genetic model in order to preserve its life. After the favored spirit had degenerated its genetic model, it would be the same as abandoning it from its body. The possibility of it expressing itself again could be described as negligible. Previously, when Gray had transformed from an ordinary fae into a heaven and earth fae, Lin Yuan had been a little curious, but he did not think much about it. Now, it seemed like the newly born Gray that he had found in the depths of the endless forest without expressing its genes was a favored spirit that had degenerated most of its genes to preserve its life. Now, due to the pure spirit chi in the spirit lock spatial zone and the pure elemental energy in the elemental pearls, Gray had obtained a chance. Now that he had the chance to replenish the genetic model that had faded away, he could once again attack the favored spirit. This was an opportunity that Gray had fought for, and Lin Yuan did not intend to be a burden to Gray. In the end, before Lin Yuan could worry for 2 minutes, Gray seemed to have absorbed enough pure spirit qi and stopped absorbing it. The spirit qi surging out of the spirit pool quickly caused the spirit qi concentration in the spirit lock spatial zone to reach saturation. This allowed Lin Yuan to heave a sigh of relief. However, Lin Yuan's sigh of relief soon became suspended. Chapter 3, Seeking Monthly Votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 1039. Gray was no longer absorbing the spirit qi, but it was eyeing the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls that contained elemental power. The heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls in the spirit lock spatial zone were like free jelly beans that kept gushing toward the eggshell that was wrapped in gray. These heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls, which contained all sorts of pure elements, directly shattered on the surface of the gray eggshell. Just like that, Gray drank the pure energy of various attributes. When he saw the emptied heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls in the spirit lock spatial zone, he felt his scalp go numb. The spirit lock spatial zone was originally filled with a small mountain of heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls. The production speed of the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls from the 7 bronze/legend elemental shellfish was simply too fast. In addition, Lin Yuan had been rather busy this month. The heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls of the various elements were simply split up by the wind-speed rapid antelopes, and the pearls hadn't been picked yet. Hence, he had yet to put away these heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls. The earth elemental pearls he had used to heal the predator butterfly and the water elemental pearls he had used to feed blue jade were slightly lesser. There were at least 2,000 fire elemental and wind elemental pearls. However, he did not have the time to feel sorry for the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls that Gray had absorbed. Lin Yuan once again felt Gray's urgent need for elemental energy. At this time, he naturally could not take Gray out of the spirit lock spatial zone and let it freely absorb the various elemental energies in the world. Even if he was the Moon Empress disciple and was in the royal capital, the heavenly favor spirit's incubation would trigger a heaven and earth anomaly. It would definitely cause quite a bit of trouble. The world anomaly caused by the favored spirit wasn't only visible in the Radiance Federation. Even the other federations in the main world could sense it. With the preciousness of the heavenly chosen spirit, it would definitely attract the ill intentions of the other federations. The Radiance Federation was so powerful that the other federations did not dare to act forcefully on the surface. However, any federation that possessed an island whale that could cross the sea would probably secretly cause trouble for the Radiance Federation. He was going to look for the favored spirit that had appeared in the Radiance Federation. The Radiance Federation would definitely be in chaos. Furthermore, humans weren't the only truly powerful beings in the origin world. Some powerful Fays would also establish their own factions. The Radiance Federation didn't have such factions built by Fays. Even if there were, they would be taken in and cleaned up by the spirit guards. However, there were plenty of factions in the other federations that were built by Fays. A favored spirit was far more enticing to powerful Fays than a spirit chi professional. He did not dare to imagine how big of a storm it would cause if many powerful Fays transformed into human forms and secretly lurked in the Radiance Federation. At this thought, Lin Yuan was a little worried about the heaven and earth anomaly that would be triggered when the Mother of Bloodbath broke through to Myth 3. If the Mother of Bloodbath really awakened the Sundial Jade Spider bloodline in its body when it broke through to Myth 3, it would definitely usher in the same mutation as Gray. However, the situation of the Mother of Bloodbath and Gray was different. He could not recall the Mother of Bloodbath into the Spirit Lock spatial zone since it needed to undergo the Third World cleansing. At that time, the riots caused by the Mother of Bloodbath's transformation into a favored spirit would still occur. Lin Yuan sighed. This matter is really not easy to solve. Lin Yuan, who was sighing, suddenly thought of something, and his eyes suddenly lit up. When the Mother of Bloodbath underwent the Third World cleansing and transformed into a favored spirit, he could completely bring it to the Divine Wood Federation. At that time, whether the Divine Wood Federation was in chaos or not was none of his business. He might even be able to secretly fish in the chaotic Divine Wood Federation and obtain a lot of benefits. At present, Gray was thirsting for elemental energy, and Lin Yuan could not take it out. The spirit lock spatial zone was not like the outside world, which was full of elemental energy. Therefore, Lin Yuan could only take out the inventory of elemental pearls that he had stored in the amber button-shaped diamond box. He had sorted out this inventory a month ago. Lin Yuan sorted out the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls with pearls of each element in the spirit lock spatial zone, 1,000 of each. These 4,000 heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls with pearls were treated as his own inventory, and he planned to use them in case of emergencies. As long as he did not encounter an emergency, Lin Yuan did not intend to use them at all. He did not even have the thought of using the slaughtering butterfly to restore its exhausted bloodline and let blue increase its grade. At that moment, Lin Yuan felt that he really had foresight. If he had not stored 4,000 heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls in advance, Gray's advancement as a favored spirit was destined to fail. However, Lin Yuan could not guarantee that the 4,000 heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls he had stored in advance would be enough for Gray to complete the favored spirit's transformation. However, Lin Yuan really did not have any more heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls. Even if it could not, Lin Yuan had already done his best, and there was no other way. He could only treat a dead horse as a living horse. Regardless of how many heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls Gray could absorb, Lin Yuan opened the box containing 4,000 heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls and placed them in front of Gray. He allowed Gray to freely use the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls of each element. In the incubation state, Gray did not stand on ceremony at all. In about 5 minutes, the box filled with heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls had already been emptied. Gray's thirst for elemental energy had also weakened significantly. After Lin Yuan quickly replenished the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls produced by 7 bronze/legend elemental shellfish, cracks immediately appeared on Gray's eggshell made of feathers. Immediately after, misty clouds gushed out from the cracks on the eggshell. A faintly discernible crane shadow mixed in the clouds and arrived in front of Lin Yuan. A tender, affectionate, and aggrieved voice rang in Lin Yuan's ears. "Daddy, Gray used too many good things just now. Gray did not do it on purpose. Gray cannot control its body's demand for elemental energy." Upon hearing Gray's words, Lin Yuan was slightly startled. Lin Yuan had raised many of his fays as if they were his sons and daughters. However, it was indeed Lin Yuan's first time being called daddy by a fae. This gave Lin Yuan a strange feeling in his heart. Speaking of which, Gray was indeed a favored spirit. It could already speak right after hatching. Moreover, according to Gray's words, Gray had its own consciousness in the eggshell. Even if Gray was always in the eggshell, it still did not affect its perception of the outside world. Since Lin Yuan had given Gray these heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls, he naturally would not blame Gray afterward. "Gray is fine. As long as I have it, it doesn't matter how many heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls you spend during the incubation process." The first was even better. End of this chapter. Chapter 1040. Fortunately, you don't need more heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls. Otherwise, the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls I have wouldn't be enough for you. When the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls in the spirit lock spatial zone had been used up, Lin Yuan still had some left. Apart from the 7 bronze/legend elemental shellfish that had just produced, Lin Yuan didn't have any extra heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls. When Gray heard Lin Yuan's words, it timidly said, "Daddy, Gray loves you. Daddy, Gray loves you." The cloud of clouds with crane shadows gently shrouded Lin Yuan, and then Lin Yuan felt something sink in his arms. It was as though something had landed in his arms, and a pair of wings were gently hugging him. Lin Yuan lowered his head and realized that he couldn't see anything with his naked eye. He could only see a cloud of mist. If one looked closely, they would be able to vaguely see the silhouette of a crane in the clouds. This surprised Lin Yuan with Gray's concealment ability. He was so close to Gray that if he didn't look carefully, he wouldn't be able to see Gray's figure. If Gray were to soar above the 9 heavens and hide within the layers of clouds, then, even fays that were good at scouting wouldn't be able to easily find Gray. Lin Yuan planned to take a good look at Gray's true data. He wanted to see if Gray had transformed into a true blessed being after causing such a mutation and consuming such a large amount of pure spirit chi and elemental energy. Fey name, Heavencloud crane, Fey species, feathered crane species / red crane species, Fey grade, normal I, 1/10, Fey type, nature, Fey quality, normal abilities frowny face weather clouds, the user's body appears in the form of clouds and mist all day long. When the user's body appears in the form of clouds and mist, the user will have an affinity with all natural weather phenomena. The user can absorb weather phenomena through the user's body and condense them into the clouds and mist. Every time the user absorbs a weather phenomenon, a new skill will be created. Lin Yuan's eyes narrowed when he saw Gray's true data, and he revealed a big smile. According to the information given by Wenyu, Lin Yuan understood that if he wanted to know if a Fey was a blessed being, he could determine it through the Fey's type. Among the numerous Feys, only the heavenly blessed items element was the nature type. According to Gray's true data's Fey type, Lin Yuan could confirm that Gray was a true blessed Fey. At the same time, Lin Yuan finally understood why Gray seemed to have no physical body and had been hiding in the clouds. So it was because of Gray's normal skill, Weather Cloud. Gray Ash's normal skill, Weather Cloud, was an active and passive skill combined into one. At that moment, Gray's form was the passive function of the Weather Cloud form, which shocked Lin Yuan. If a favorite spirit wanted to increase its strength and rank, it no longer needed to rely on spiritual energy. They also had to rely on natural energy. This was also the reason why the heavenly blessings were of the natural element. For example, after the Mother of Bloodbath transformed into a sundial jade spider, it needed to absorb natural energy from the sun. Gray was different from the sundial jade spider. The sundial jade spider absorbed the natural energy from the sun, while Gray absorbed the natural energy contained in various meteorological phenomena. These weather types included sunny, cloudy, rainy, snowy, and other weather types. Gray would then condense these absorbed meteorological phenomena into the clouds that it had transformed into. At the same time, every time Gray absorbed a kind of meteorological phenomenon, it could produce an ability based on the absorbed meteorological phenomena. This allowed Gray to produce many more abilities out of thin air. Of course, these abilities that were produced by absorbing meteorological phenomena were not without restrictions. These skills that Gray Ash absorbed through the weather would prevent it from gaining new skills when it leveled up in the future. Of course, according to true data, Lin Yuan knew that the abilities that were produced after Gray absorbed the meteorological phenomena could be constantly strengthened. For example, if Gray absorbed the same kind of meteorological phenomena multiple times, then the abilities derived from the meteorological phenomena would be strengthened. Just as Lin Yuan was looking at Gray's true data, a strange spiritual wave surged out of Gray's body in Lin Yuan's arms. Immediately after, Lin Yuan realized that he and Gray had formed a close contract connection. This was Gray's contract method. Before Gray hatched, Lin Yuan had cut his palm many times and smeared the blood from his palm on Gray's eggshell. This allowed Gray to have a close connection with his bloodline. This way, after Gray hatched, it would take the initiative to form a contract with him. It could be said that Gray was Lin Yuan's first contracted spirit of heaven. As a spirit of heaven, Gray's willpower rune needed to be comprehended from nature. This meant that Lin Yuan did not need to specially comprehend willpower runes for Gray. The two idle willpower runes in Lin Yuan's mind were not suitable for Gray at all. Daddy, Gray wants to eat the pond fish that Daddy fed Gray. As Gray spoke, it was obvious that it was feeling shy. It seemed to be embarrassed that it had taken the initiative to ask Lin Yuan to feed it. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan hurriedly took out the fat pond fish that he had prepared for Gray from the amber button-shaped diamond Fey storage box. At that time, Lin Yuan had spent a lot of effort to let Gray grow a body that was thin. Lin Yuan had fed these pond fish with medicinal Feys so that when Gray devoured these pond fish, it could absorb the mildest medicinal properties through the pond fish's flesh. Through the mild medicinal properties, Gray's weak body was nourished. As Gray had suddenly turned into an eggshell, Lin Yuan had placed the pond fish that Gray had not finished eating in its original place. Now, these pond fish were put to use again. It could be said that since Gray had evolved, it had been a long time since it had eaten. After placing the 10-pond fish on the ground, Lin Yuan said, "Gray, eat. If it is not enough, there are still over 20 in the diamond face storage box. Now that you have completed your transformation, your body has completely recovered. You can eat more delicacies besides pond fish. I will prepare a new meal for you in the next 2 days." After Lin Yuan finished speaking, Gray obediently said, "Thank you, Daddy." "Thank you, Dad." Gray is about to start. After Gray finished speaking, Lin Yuan felt the grip on his arms loosen. Obviously, Gray had flown away from his arms. Lin Yuan saw a few fat pond fish in the pot surrounded by clouds, and soon, one of them disappeared. When every fish in the pond disappeared, Lin Yuan could vaguely see a crane's shadow moving around the basin. The 10 pond fish were quickly eaten by Gray. Feeling that Gray was not full and embarrassed to open its mouth, Lin Yuan simply poured the remaining pond fish into the pot. The second one was even worse. "Something happened to my body and I was hospitalized last night. This is the first time I have missed a chapter. Please forgive me. I will make up for it." End of this chapter. Chapter 1041. Seeing that Gray had already eaten 14 or 15 fish, a question suddenly popped up in Lin Yuan's mind. Gray had eaten so much. How was it going to poop when the time came? Could it be that a pile of poop suddenly fell from a cloud that was floating in the sky? Just as Lin Yuan was pondering, Gray had already killed the 13th fish in the basin and stopped. "Daddy, Gray has eaten too much. Gray wants to fly outside for a while." Upon hearing Gray's words, Lin Yuan immediately brought Gray out of the spirit lock spatial zone. At that moment, the spirit craftsman working on the hidden Wyrm lake saw Lin Yuan again. However, Lin Yuan was no longer accompanied by the dark blue mermaid girl. Instead, there was a faintly discernible cloud and mist. Outside the spirit lock spatial zone, Lin Yuan heard Gray's voice again. "Daddy, the weather is sunny now. Gray wants to eat this sunny weather." Lin Yuan smiled when he sensed Gray's eagerness to devour the clear sky weather phenomenon into its body. Lin Yuan naturally would not reject Gray's desire to increase its strength. Lin Yuan also wanted to see what kind of ability Gray would produce after swallowing a weather. After obtaining Lin Yuan's permission, Gray let out a soft cry. A misty ray of light seemed to separate from the clear sky. This misty ray of light revealed a brilliant sunny feeling. Upon seeing this ray of light, Lin Yuan felt as though he was looking at a cloudless sunny day. Gray's cloud and mist could only cover 5 to 6 square meters. When this misty ray of light descended, Gray's cloud suddenly expanded. At that moment, Gray's cloud was like a kind of white cloud that descended from the sky. It was enough to cover up to 100 square meters. Close to 100 square meters of cloud soared up, and Gray absorbed this misty ray of light in midair. Lin Yuan saw that Gray's cloud was immediately dyed with the sunny feeling. The cloud seemed to have the feeling of a bright sun shining high up in the sky. Gray was not satisfied even after absorbing the misty and clear light. He kept squeezing more and more misty light from the clear sky. As it continued to absorb, the sunny feeling in the gray clouds became stronger and stronger. Upon seeing this scene, Lin Yuan frowned tightly. At that moment, Lin Yuan did not check what abilities Gray had absorbed from this sunny weather. However, no matter what ability Gray absorbed, no matter how powerful it was, Lin Yuan would not be very happy. Because after absorbing the weather, the gray clouds also carried the smell of this weather. This caused the gray clouds to lose their concealment ability. If it happened to be a cloudy and rainy day, the clouds formed by the ashes would appear to be out of place with the surrounding environment. It could directly attract the attention of passers-by. Moreover, it had only absorbed the weather of a sunny day. If gray ash absorbed the weather of a rainy or snowy day, the ash was even more obvious in the sky. However, Lin Yuan could not let gray absorb the qi phenomenon. Due to the uniqueness of the favored spirit, if Gray did not absorb the qi, it would not be able to level up. After absorbing so much of the clear sky weather, Gray's rank had risen from common to common, rank 4, elite. Lin Yuan did not know if it was an illusion, But he felt that as Chimey absorbed the clear sky weather, the sky gradually darkened. Gray, which had transformed into a cloud and was floating in the sky, was obviously more excited about the changes in the weather. The sky that had just darkened immediately descended with a somewhat gloomy gray light beam. This somewhat gray light beam was once again absorbed by Gray. In addition to the sunny weather, the clouds formed by Gray now had an additional hint of gloominess. Lin Yuan raised his eyebrows. Gray was not picky about its food and would eat no matter what weather it was. If Gray had absorbed the clear sky weather, it could still rise into the sky on a sunny day. Now that Gray, which contained both the clear sky weather and the cloudy sky weather, was floating in the sky, it would also appear out of place. Lin Yuan used Morbius True data to check the abilities that Gray had obtained after absorbing the clear sky weather and the cloudy sky weather. Clear sky's brilliance transformed the original weather in an area covered by clouds into clear sky weather. At the same time, the life forms in the area covered by clear sky weather will be covered by the clear sky weather mark. Friendly targets' light-type abilities will have an increase in lethality, while enemies will suffer from a series of negative effects such as heat stroke and burning. Cloudy sky's shadow transformed the original weather in an area covered by clouds into cloudy sky. At the same time, the life forms in the area covered by cloudy sky weather will be covered by the cloudy sky weather mark. Friendly targets' dark-type abilities will have an increase in lethality, while enemies will suffer from a series of negative effects such as disorientation and fear. Lin Yuan was pleasantly surprised when he saw the abilities that Gray had obtained after absorbing the clear sky and the cloudy sky weather. These two abilities were abilities that buffed allies and weakened enemies. Under the clouds, each ability was like a domain, and these abilities could be stacked with each other. With the weather mark, there was no need to fear that the abilities' effects would affect each other. Clear sky's brilliance was very compatible with Chimey. Under the clear sky's brilliance, Chimey's cleansing light could recover its exhausted vitality faster. At the same time, it would also increase the lethality of Chimey's light-type abilities. If the clear sky's brilliance was strong enough, Chimey could rely on its HP lock ability and cleansing light's recovery ability. As long as there was enough spirit chi, it might be able to achieve immortality. As for the cloudy sky's shadow, it was even more useful to Lin Yuan. Although Lin Yuan did not have any dark-type phase, the sacred sword-embracing queen, which he had contracted, had inscribed a large portion of dark-type laws in its skirt. Even the Dark Death world, the only world that Lin Yuan had mastered, was a dark-type existence. With the cloudy sky's shadow, Lin Yuan's power would definitely increase when he used the Dark Crow Withering Strike again. At the same time, Lin Yuan was also very interested in the disorientation and fear effects that cloudy sky's shadow could inflict on enemies. Disorientation could reduce the enemy's sense of direction, while fear could reduce the enemy's will to fight. These two negative effects were not very effective in group battles, but they could often turn the tables in a duel between experts. Although Lin Yuan was very satisfied with the clear sky's brilliance and the cloudy sky's shadow, he was still brooding over Gray's loss of its concealment ability. At that moment, Lin Yuan realized that the dark clouds in the sky, which had just turned dark, had already gathered together. There was a feeling of black clouds pressing down on the city, threatening to destroy it. Such black clouds seemed as though it would snow at any time. The third time. End of this chapter. Chapter 1042. It could be said that the weather had changed from sunny to cloudy to about to snow in less than 10 minutes. Under normal circumstances, this kind of weather change would take at least an hour, so the reason why the weather changed so quickly must have something to do with Gray. However, Lin Yuan hoped that it would snow. This way, Gray could absorb the snow weather to obtain its third skill. Lin Yuan ignored the dumbfounded expressions of the spirit craftsman working on the hidden Wyrm lake and let the source sand condense into a seat made of sand. Lin Yuan sat on the seat and looked up at the sky. Looking at the thick dark clouds in the sky, Lin Yuan felt that if it really snowed, it would at least last for an entire night. Lin Yuan planned to accompany Gray here to absorb the snowy weather. He wanted to see if Gray, who had just absorbed cloudy weather and reached normal rank 9/flawless, could directly advance to bronze and obtain an exclusive skill with snowy weather. Soon, the feather-sized snowflakes fluttered down and landed on Lin Yuan's shoulders before drifting off his shoulders and falling to the ground. Looking at the abrupt clouds floating in the cloudy sky with a clear texture, Lin Yuan took out his cell phone and called the mother of Bloodbath. After participating in the Nix assembly, his address could be said to have been exposed to the eyes of the top forces. After all, Long Tu had come to visit with great fanfare previously. Before the Nix assembly, he had attracted the attention of many top and veteran forces. There were definitely veteran and peak forces around his manor, trying to find out what was going on. Although the sky had darkened, it wasn't really night yet. Therefore, the cloud of ash didn't look as abrupt. When it was completely dark, as long as someone looked up at the sky, they would immediately notice the difference in the clouds formed by the gray ash in the sky. He planned to let the Mother of Bloodbath circulate the blood law to shield the phenomenon in the sky. With his identity as the Moon Empress disciple, even if the veteran factions and top faction spies were curious as to why the Mother of Bloodbath wanted to seal off the space, they wouldn't be able to do so. He probably did not have the guts to break the Mother of Bloodbath's restriction in the Return from Faraway Manor to investigate the situation in the sky. After Lin Yuan finished the call, a red light flashed, and the Mother of Bloodbath quickly appeared in front of him. Lin Yuan immediately said to the Mother of Bloodbath, "Mother of Bloodbath, shield the space above our Return from Faraway Manor. Don't let anyone find out what's going on in the Return from Faraway Manor." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's instructions, the Mother of Bloodbath did not ask much and immediately rose into the air. The Suzerain/Myth 2 aura erupted, and blood law runes emerged from the Mother of Bloodbath's body, forming a barrier that enveloped the sky above the Return from Faraway Manor. Lin Yuan rarely troubled the Mother of Bloodbath, so the Mother of Bloodbath knew that it must be important for him to look for it. The Mother of Bloodbath, which had shielded the Return from Faraway Manor's sky, naturally sensed Gray's strange cloud. At first, the Mother of Bloodbath did not feel anything. However, when the Mother of Bloodbath discovered that this strange cloud was absorbing the energy of the snowy weather from the sky, it immediately widened its eyes. As he possessed the bloodline of the sundial jade spider, he naturally had an extraordinary understanding of the heavenly spirits. Thus, the Mother of Bloodbath quickly determined that the strange cloud in the sky was formed by a favored spirit. Judging from its aura, this favored spirit was still very weak. Lin Yuan had asked the Mother of Bloodbath to shield the Return from Faraway Manor's sky because he obviously did not want others to detect the existence of this favored spirit. Could it be that this favored spirit is Lin Yuan's Fae? At the thought of this, the Mother of Bloodbath felt its scalp tingle. If that was the case, then Lin Yuan's growth was too fast. Previously, the Mother of Bloodbath had sensed the favored spirit's aura from the Moon Empress, which meant that the Moon Empress had a favored spirit. However, even if the Moon Empress had a favored spirit, she would not go to the extent of equipping one for Lin Yuan, right? Since it involved Lin Yuan's favored spirit, the Mother of Bloodbath did not dare to be the slightest bit careless. At the same time, it released its aura to deter the experts around the Return from Faraway Manor, whose strength far exceeded its own. Soon, the Mother of Bloodbath received the signal from these experts. These experts were obviously very afraid of Lin Yuan's identity and hurriedly retreated within 5 miles of the Return from Faraway Manor after the Mother of Bloodbath issued a warning. Looking at Gray absorbing the snowy weather in the sky, Lin Yuan just sat quietly on the chair. As he felt the endless snowflakes falling from the sky, Lin Yuan could not remember how long it had been since he had calmed down to look at the myriad natural phenomena. Back when he had been in Redbud City's Xia region, he had nothing to do and would lie by the window to look at the night sky and scenery. Under this boundless snow, the Return from Faraway Manor, which was always lush with vegetation, was also covered with a thin layer of snow. The falling snowflakes looked very big, but it was still early spring. The snow that had fallen earlier would immediately melt when it landed on the ground. Only after the first snow lowered the ground temperature could the next snow remain in the world. After this heavy snow, the royal capital would definitely cool down. At the same time, the footsteps of spring would be delayed by about a week. Lin Yuan suddenly thought of those peddlers selling plum branches when he had gone to Tongxi Road. This heavy snow would definitely make those peddlers smile from ear to ear. It would also allow the plum branch business, which should have stopped within a week, to continue for at least half a month. Under the snowy sky, Lin Yuan, who was very pleased with the snowy scenery, could not help but softly hum a song. Your hair is like the snow, sad and beautiful parting, who has my incense touched? Inviting the bright moon to let the memories be bright, love is perfect under the moonlight. Your hair is like the snow, fluttering with tears, who have I waited to grow old? Intoxicated with the world of mortals, I use no regrets to engrave the monument of eternal love for you. Although Lin Yuan was not good at singing, he would never go out of tune. Otherwise, Lin Yuan would not have been able to teach Chimey to sing. Chimey did not know how to compose music, so it only learned the tune that Lin Yuan sang. Lin Yuan, who had not sung for a long time, sounded a little hoarse, but it revealed the beauty of youth. When Lin Yuan's clear voice entered the mother of Bloodbath's ears, it was slightly startled. Lin Yuan's voice revealed the taste of love, with love's parting and steadfastness. The mother of Bloodbath did not remember Lin Yuan having a partner. Furthermore, the mother of Bloodbath had already known that Chimey was the sparrow-voiced lowly goddess a few days ago. After that, the mother of Bloodbath would occasionally go to Chimey's live-streaming room to listen to it sing. The mother of Bloodbath had even asked Chimey how it had come up with these songs, and Chimey had said that Lin Yuan had taught it. The mother of Bloodbath suddenly recalled that most of the songs that Chimey sang in the live-streaming room were about love. Could Lin Yuan be an LSP, a great Casanova? At that thought, the mother of Bloodbath hurriedly shook its head. Lin Yuan could not be an LSP, a great Casanova. Otherwise, Lin Yuan would not have been a single dog. Chapter 1043. Lin Yuan didn't know what the mother of Bloodbath was thinking. If he did, he would definitely feel wronged. How did I become an LSP, a Casanova? If I were an LSP, a Casanova, I wouldn't have been solo until now. So much so that in the dead of night, only my hands would occasionally accompany me. Lin Yuan sat in the snow for an entire night. Lin Yuan realized that when gray absorbed the weather, it absorbed both the snowy weather and the cloudy weather. There was no conflict between the two weather conditions. At this moment, Gray's rank had already reached Elite Rank 9 Epic. It only needed one more grade to smoothly evolve to Bronze grade. The night was ending, and the sky was slowly turning bright. The cloudy weather conditions that Gray absorbed started to decrease. But at the same time, Gray could start to absorb sunny weather conditions again. Soon, the sky was completely bright, and the snow that had fallen for an entire night started to gradually lessen. At this moment, Gray, who had reached the Elite Level 10 Epic grade, suddenly turned into a cloud and expanded outwards. At the same time, 3 exclusive skills appeared for Lin Yuan to choose from. Lin Yuan knew that Gray had successfully evolved to Bronze grade. Lin Yuan sat up straight on the chair formed by the source sand and carefully checked Gray's first exclusive skill. Endless Cloud, make the clouds thin and fuse the thin clouds into the natural clouds. Use one's own clouds to control the natural clouds, allowing the original cloud area to expand. When he saw this exclusive skill, Lin Yuan rubbed his forehead helplessly. If this exclusive skill, Endless Cloud, was in the past, Lin Yuan would naturally be extremely excited. Lin Yuan had previously wanted to let Genius use the Connect Tail to connect Wen Yu and Gray. This way, after transforming into the Heaven Listening Secret Manual, Wen Yu could rely on the area covered by Gray's clouds to gather information. This exclusive skill, Endless Cloud, could perfectly fulfill Lin Yuan's previous idea. But now, Gray, which had 3 kinds of weather conditions, was like a traffic light. If it expanded the clouds, wouldn't it be even more conspicuous? Therefore, Lin Yuan gave up on the first exclusive skill without thinking. Anyway, as Gray's strength increased, the area covered by the clouds would constantly increase. Then, he checked the second exclusive skill. Nirvana of the Flowing Clouds, as long as the clouds do not disperse, life will not end. Even if the main body is killed, as long as there is a trace of the main body's cloud, the cloud will immediately turn into an eggshell. After the eggshell hatches, the main body will revive. Lin Yuan could not help but raise his eyebrows at the second exclusive skill. It could be said that Gray's second exclusive skill was in line with Lin Yuan's intentions. Now that Gray had become so conspicuous, it would be easy for others to target him. Before Gray became stronger, it would lose its life if it was targeted. The second exclusive skill, Flowing Cloud Nirvana, could increase Gray's chances of survival. After Gray Ash was killed, Gray Ash would be able to rely on the remaining Cloud Chi to revive. Lin Yuan decided that if the third exclusive skill was as useless as the first one, or if it couldn't solve Gray's current problem, he would have to give it a try. Lin Yuan decided to choose Gray's second exclusive skill, Flowing Clouds Nirvana. As soon as he checked and saw the third exclusive skill, Lin Yuan immediately laughed out loud. Pact of the Precious Jade, condense each type of absorbed weather into a special kind of precious jade. The precious jade will form a specific precious jade pattern that will grow on the feathers. After the weather condenses into the precious jade pattern, the clouds will no longer contain the weather aura. When the precious jade pattern is activated, each type of weather will turn into a specific precious jade beast. It could be said that the third exclusive skill, Pact of the Precious Jade, resolved Lin Yuan's worry after seeing Gray absorb the weather. With Pact of the Precious Jade, Gray could still turn into a formless cloud in the sky. It could also conceal the floating island whale and jade blue. In addition, the Pact of the Precious Jade also gave Gray a new combat style. It allowed Gray to become like a spirit chi professional. It was as though each type of weather had become Gray's contracted fey. Gray relied on constantly absorbing the weather to strengthen its contracted fey and used the weather to transform into a precious jade beast in combat. The appearance of the precious jade beast was equivalent to Gray's original combat style of increasing its own strength and reducing the enemy's overflow. It allowed Gray to use its offensive style to fight against the enemy, which was equivalent to breaking through its own limitations. It allowed Gray to turn from a pure support to an existence that emphasized both support and offense. Of course, the exclusive skill, Pact of the Precious Jade, was not without its drawbacks. Pact of the Precious Jade allowed Gray's originally formless body to grow ornaments of precious jade. Moreover, as Gray absorbed more types of weather, the ornaments on its body also increased. This caused Gray's body to become more and more conspicuous. Fortunately, Gray's body could also hide in the clouds. Even if Gray had the ornaments of precious jade on its body, it would not be easily discovered by others. In addition, the growing ornaments of precious jade on Gray's body made it easier for Lin Yuan to find traces of Gray. After Lin Yuan confirmed that Gray's exclusive skill was Pact of the Precious Jade, Lin Yuan saw that the originally abrupt cloud in the sky immediately lost its sense of abruptness. The cloud continued to spread, and after spreading, it could easily cover up to 1,000 square meters. It could be said that after Gray reached bronze, the cloud's coverage area was not small. Immediately after, Lin Yuan saw a crane-shaped phantom with sun-shaped topaz ornaments, moon-shaped amethyst ornaments, and snowflake-shaped aquamarine ornaments burrow out of the cloud. Based on these precious jade ornaments, Lin Yuan knew that Gray was flying toward him. Lin Yuan immediately reached out and hugged Gray. After hugging Gray, Lin Yuan realized that after Gray's grade increased, its body weight did not increase much. After absorbing the snowy weather for an entire night, a new skill had appeared in Gray. Snow weathers freeze. In an area covered by clouds, the original weather will be transformed into snow weather. At the same time, creatures in the area will be covered with the snow weather mark. When friendly targets use ice-type skills in snow weather, the damage will be increased. When using water-type skills can be turned into ice-type skills by consuming spirit chi. In snow weather, enemies will suffer a series of negative effects such as stiffness and numbness. At the same time, the power of fire-type skills will be reduced. Lin Yuan did not know if it was because Gray absorbed the snow weather more than the sunny weather or the cloudy weather. Snow weather's freeze snow weather was obviously more expressive than the sunny weather's brilliance and the cloudy weather's shadow. Seeing Gray's freeze snow weather, Lin Yuan immediately thought of blue. If the snow weather's freeze snow weather could turn a water-type skill into an ice-type skill, Then when Blue used the water break skill, wouldn't the huge waterfall from the sky become a huge iceberg from the sky? The second was even worse. End of this chapter. Chapter 1044. The water pillar's impact was scattered and not as focused as the ice pillar. The ice pillar could accurately hit a single point and deal a huge amount of damage. At the same time, under Blue's control, the tip of the ice pillar would become abnormally sharp. Wouldn't it become a giant ice arrow that pierced through the sky? With this thought, Lin Yuan could not help but look forward to Gray and Blue's cooperation after they grew up. Seeing Gray moving around in his arms, Lin Yuan said to Gray, "Gray, use your exclusive skill, Jade Pact. Summon the Jade Beast formed by the weather, and snow weather." When Gray heard Lin Yuan's command, it flapped its wings and flew out of Lin Yuan's arms. When Gray heard Lin Yuan's command, it flapped its wings and flew out of Lin Yuan's arms. As it flapped its wings, the 3 jade ornaments on Gray's body suddenly lit up. Then, from the sun-shaped topaz ornament, a bird-like fay with blazing flames on its head and tail came out. On the moon-shaped amethyst ornament, a black deer-like fay with purple stripes appeared. On the snowflake-shaped sea sapphire ornament, a tortoise fay covered in ice crystals appeared. Lin Yuan realized that the huge flaming bird formed by the weather from the weather was extremely aggressive. The black deer-like fay with purple stripes formed by the weather from the weather had an extremely strong control effect. The tortoise fay with ice crystals formed by the weather from the weather could use the ice crystals for defense. It could be said that Gray had only grasped 3 types of weather until now. However, the Jade Beast formed by these 3 types of weather was already capable of both defense and defense. Of course, it was limited by Gray's grade, and Gray had not absorbed much weather, so the fay formed by Jade Pact was not very strong. Even so, Gray's current display of strength was far superior to a regular silver fay. Gray was indeed a favorite spirit. It was indeed powerful. Lin Yuan carefully checked Gray's true data. Fay name, Heavencloud Crane, Fay species, Feathered Crane/Red Crane, Fay grade, Bronze, 1/10, Fay type, Nature, Fay quality, Normal abilities, Weather clouds, the user's body appears in the form of clouds and mist all day long. When the user's body appears in the form of clouds and mist, the user will have an affinity with all natural weather phenomena. The user can absorb weather phenomena through the user's body and condense them into the clouds and mist. Every time the user absorbs a weather phenomenon, a new skill will be created. Clear weather's dazzling light changes the weather in an area covered by clouds to clear weather. At the same time, the clear weather mark is applied to all creatures within the area. Friendly targets will have increased damage when using light skills in clear weather, while enemies will suffer from heatstroke, burns, and other negative effects when using clear weather. Cloudy weather's shadow, in an area covered by clouds, the weather will become cloudy. At the same time, creatures within the area will be marked with the cloudy weather mark. When friendly targets use dark skills in cloudy weather, their damage will be increased, while enemies will suffer from confusion, fear, and other negative effects. Frozen snowy weather, in an area covered by clouds, the weather will be changed into snowy weather. At the same time, creatures in the area will be covered with the snowy weather mark. When friendly targets use ice skills in snowy weather, their damage will be increased. When using water skills can be turned into ice skills by consuming spirit chi. In snowy weather, enemies would receive a series of debuffs such as stiffness and numbness. At the same time, the damage of fire-type skills would be reduced. Exclusive skill Frowny Face Promise of Precious Jade, condense each type of chi into a special type of precious jade. The precious jade will form a special precious jade pattern that will grow on the feather. After the chi is condensed into a precious jade pattern, the chi will no longer contain any chi. When the precious jade pattern is activated, each chi will turn into a special precious jade beast. Under true data, Gray's quality was only normal. However, he did not need to worry about Gray's current quality. When Gray continued to absorb chi in the process of growing, its quality would definitely improve. Due to Gray's exclusive skill, Pact of the Precious Jade, the mist it turned into was no longer as conspicuous as before. Lin Yuan allowed Gray to freely fly above the return from faraway mansion to absorb the clear weather. Everything was settled. Gray had ascended to the sky, and the Mother of Bloodbath was freed. The Mother of Bloodbath returned to the training room to absorb the blood energy contained in the blood brew grapes. Lin Yuan sat on the chair and had to start facing reality. He could not help but rub his chin with his hand. When he had many heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls, he had always been very confident. In the process of building the faction with Zhongzhe, Gulang, Long Tao, and the others, he had directly agreed to the high-star creation master resources and heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls that the faction needed to develop. During the Interfederation trade with Lin Yuan had also said that he would let Lin freely decide the number of heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls for the transaction. At present, the Spirit Heron Chamber of Commerce was developing with the function of luxury resources, and it would inevitably use heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls in the future. When Lu Pinru and Wenyu were developing the Pinru Home brand, Lin Yuan had also suggested to Wenyu to let the Pinru Home provide superior order and distribution services. In order to reflect the nobility of the superior order, Lin Yuan planned to let the superior order clothing be decorated with heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls. At the same time, the purchase with no loss store fan club that Lin Yuan had taught Listen to need to consume one heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearl every day for group welfare auctions. There were also the floating island whale, Blue, and the slaughter butterfly that had recovered its bloodline. It could be said that the current burden of elemental pearls that Lin Yuan needed to bear was very huge. The awakening of Gray's favored spirit had forcibly reduced Lin Yuan's stockpile of heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls to 0. Although the 7 bronze/legend elemental shellfish in the Spirit Lock spatial zone were still continuously producing elemental pearls. Currently, the 7 bronze/legend elemental shellfish were obviously not enough for Lin Yuan. The Spirit Lock spatial zone had evolved not long ago, and the spirit chi concentration had greatly increased. It had broken the stalemate of the spirit chi pool's production and consumption. Now, the spirit chi produced by the spirit pool was far from being enough for the Spirit Lock spatial zone. Under such circumstances, Lin Yuan had already decided to obtain a few more young elemental shellfish to nurture. However, Gao Feng had also mentioned during the phone call that a large amount of spirit chi had surged out with the opening of the water world dimensional rift. Almost all the young elemental shellfish in the ocean had evolved into exploding pearl shellfish under the nourishment of the large amount of spirit chi. Therefore, it was extremely difficult to obtain young elemental shellfish. This was also the main reason why the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls prices were constantly rising. Lin Yuan sighed. No matter how rare it is to obtain young elemental shellfish, I must obtain some for myself. If the Spirit Lock spatial zone could produce 7 or 8 more bronze/legend elemental shellfish, Lin Yuan's stockpile of heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls would increase exponentially. Even if he encountered a situation like today where the elemental pearls were forcefully cleared, Lin Yuan would be able to handle all kinds of situations with just 14 or 15 heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls produced by the various bronze/legend elemental shellfish. Just as Lin Yuan was thinking about how to obtain young elemental shellfish, his phone rang. When he saw the caller, Lin Yuan revealed a smile. It seems like the person who delivered the young elemental shellfish is here. The third update. The following is a warning. There might be an update on the 20th. If everyone votes for more monthly votes and recommendation votes, there might be an update of 20. End of this chapter. Chapter 1045. Just as he picked up his cell phone and was about to pick up the call, since Grey Ash was happily absorbing the sunny weather in the sky was bright and clear. This caused Her Majesty and the veteran Emperor-class experts, who were currently in the royal capital, to frown and look up at the sky. In the land of spirit suppression, a woman in a black dress with a black veil on her face looked at the sunny sky after a night of heavy snow and said softly, "The sunny air is gathering in the sky above the royal capital. The clear skies are gathering in the sky above the capital. Could it be that a heavenly treasure that can trigger the clear skies has appeared in the capital?" Night Leaning Moon shook her head when she thought of this. If it was really a heaven-blessed item that was triggering the weather, then the scale of the weather change was simply too weak. A heaven-blessed item's grade definitely could not exceed silver. At the thought of a heaven-blessed item, Night-Leaning Moon's pupils contracted as though she had thought of something. Night-Leaning Moon had personally seen how an undying species heaven-blessed item had summoned the stars, treated the stars as marbles, and used its palm as a bow and arrow. It had used the stars to turn into marbles and smash the ground. When an adult heaven-blessed item was strengthening its strength and absorbing natural energy, it was impossible for her not to feel the natural changes that were triggered. The only possibility for the current situation was that a newly born heaven-blessed item was triggering the weather above the royal capital. While pondering, Night-Leaning Moon could not help but smile helplessly. If a heaven-blessed item had really just been born in the royal capital, then the royal capital would not be so peaceful now. It would probably have already set off a shocking phenomenon. The entire Federation's attention in the main world would also converge on the Radiance continent. Soon, the Azure Federation would send a diplomatic envoy to the Radiance Federation. Something was bound to happen when the two federations met. In these troubled times, it was very likely that there would be some people secretly plotting something. If a newly born heaven-blessed item really appeared in the royal capital, it would definitely not be a good thing for the entire Radiance Federation. It could even be said to be the beginning of a disaster. However, a heaven-blessed item was of great importance. Since it had appeared in the Radiance continent, they naturally had to do their best to keep it. However, the Heaven-Blessed Dojo was an organization formed by heaven-blessed items, and they would never let a newborn heaven-blessed item wander outside. At the same time, Her Majesty and the veteran Emperor-class experts, who sensed the strange weather, had the same thoughts as Night-Leaning Moon. However, there were also powerhouses who were conducting a large-scale search of the royal capital. For example, Iron Prison and some Emperor-class powerhouses with bases in the royal capital operated the world laws that they controlled. Of course, whether it was Iron Prison or these top factions' Emperor-class experts, they deliberately avoided the return from faraway manor where Lin Yuan was when they were probing the aura of the blessed items. Lin Yuan had won the Civil and Martial Arena Championship at the Nyx Assembly. Lin Yuan's talent and identity were directly reflected in the eyes of the various top factions, veteran factions, and His Holiness. Iron Prison did not wish to have another conflict with the Moon Empress, who had yet to return to the royal capital, because of Lin Yuan. As for the Emperor-class experts of the pinnacle factions that had their headquarters in the royal capital, they didn't dare to investigate the manor that the Moon Empress disciple resided in. After all, using the power of the rule world to investigate the return from faraway manor was essentially no different from trespassing on private property. As such, Gray managed to evade the attention of the experts in the royal capital who had discovered the anomaly in the weather. It was just that Lin Yuan didn't notice the anomaly in the weather that the experts had discovered. The royal capital was now a pool of clean water, but a few hours ago, it was still last night, when Gray had just flown into the sky to absorb the first wisp of sunny weather. A short, fat elder within the amethyst cavern suddenly revealed a strange look in his eyes. The benevolent-looking short and fat elder reached out his hand and waved in the purple crystal cavern. The broken purple crystals in the purple crystal cavern immediately condensed into a purple crystal ball. The crystal ball was like a giant world instrument, and a large amount of deep purple colors appeared in the southeast direction of the crystal ball. The short and fat elder suddenly shouted toward the outside of the purple crystal cavern. "Later, come to my place for a meeting. The power of nature in the southeast direction is in disorder. I think there should be a new little fellow appearing." As the short and fat elder spoke, his body immediately trembled as though he wanted the crystal ball to reveal more secrets. 12 long, slender, and supple purple tails grew out from the short and fat elder's back. In an instant, the short and fat elder turned into a tall, middle-aged woman dressed in a purple fox fur coat. She had a charming and dignified expression. The 12 fox tails flowed with a texture as though the world was about to fall apart. These 12 fox tails symbolized immortality in this world that was about to fall apart. As the 12 fox tails swayed to their heart's content, the stars in the sky shone down beams of starlight even though it was daytime. The beams of starlight fell into the purple crystal ball, and the purple crystal ball revealed a ray of sunlight, a dark cloud, and a few ice crystal-like snowflakes in the area where the power of nature was in disorder. Upon seeing this scene, the middle-aged woman dressed in a fox fur coat revealed a surprised expression and murmured, "This little fellow's talent is rather interesting. This little guy's talent is quite interesting. It actually involves 3 aspects of the force of nature." Just as the middle-aged woman swayed the 12 purple tails behind her and observed the information on the crystal ball, in a lotus pond not far from the crystal cavern, lotus leaves swayed, and ripples appeared in the green pond. A blooming blue lotus flower no longer absorbed the power of nature from the dozens of streams under the lotus pond. The lotus flower rotated and turned into a beautiful woman with waist-length blue hair. After the beautiful woman with waist-length blue hair appeared, she plucked a few tomatoes growing on the edge of the lotus pond. She rinsed the tomatoes in the lotus pond and stuffed them tightly into her mouth. The beautiful woman with waist-length blue hair walked toward the crystal cavern while eating the tomatoes. Along the way, the blue-haired woman ate at least 6 or 7 tomatoes. While eating the tomatoes, the blue-haired woman kept smacking her cherry lips, as though she was reminiscing the taste of the tomatoes. On a few cedar trees, a black chicken that had just absorbed the power of night and was lazily crowing in boredom also shook its body. It turned into a very sturdy man wearing a fishnet robe. After transforming into a human, the tall man pretended to look at the 10 fingernails on his hand that were dyed completely black. Then, he shook his shoulder-length black hair, and a cunning smile appeared on his face. She looked a little charming, which was hard to describe with words. In the air, the black fishnet robe fluttered behind the sturdy man like wings. The sturdy man walked toward the direction of the amethyst cavern. On the thick red rock, there was a huge blood-red and gold spider. This spider looked to be as tall as a small mountain, and its body was intertwined with red and gold, glowing with a faint jade-like brilliance. Chapter 1046. Hearing that voice, the jade-like body of the huge spider that was absorbing energy from the sun shone brightly. Then, the giant spider transformed into a tall and handsome middle-aged man. This handsome middle-aged man had short red hair that was as red as a ruby crystal. One of his eyes was red and the other was gold. His body was like white jade under the sun. He was like a man in a painting. However, the man's eyes seemed to be filled with sorrow that couldn't be dispelled, causing the sunlight to seem mournful. At the same time, the creatures who had absorbed the natural energy from the ice crystals, the lava, the earth, the plants, and the thunderclouds all turned into human shapes and walked towards the crystal caves. On this not-so-vast island, there were a total of 17 different landforms. These 17 landforms seemed to have been forcefully pieced together. It was very abrupt. But every landform could be regarded as the best environment to absorb self-energy. At that moment, 16 figures had gathered at the entrance of the crystal cavern. Only after everyone had arrived did they enter the crystal cavern together. As soon as the 16 chosen spirits entered the crystal cavern, the middle-aged woman in the purple fox fur coat waved the crystal ball in her hand. The crystal ball appeared in front of everyone who had just entered the cave. Looking at the situation on the crystal ball, the blue-haired woman hurriedly swallowed a tomato in her hand, burped, and said, "Big Sister Ziqing, the southeast of the heaven-blessed dojo we are at is only the Agro continent and the Radiance continent. It seems like the direction should be around the Agro continent and the Radiance continent." At this point, the blue-haired woman suddenly thought of something. If it's any of the 3 great federations in the Agawan continent, it would be fine. Since we are the Blessed Dojo, no one from the Divine Wood Federation, Iron Hammer Federation, and Deep Vendor Federation would dare to say anything. However, if this is the Radiance Federation, it will be a little troublesome for us to do things. The man in the black fishnet robe shook the black feather earrings on his ears as he spoke in a hoarse voice. "Sister Ziqing, could it be that you're mistaken? When I was absorbing the power of night last night, I also sensed a faint change in the night sky, but the change was too weak. If it really was caused by a heavenly treasure, then that heavenly treasure was clearly born not long ago. The birth of a being blessed by the heavens will definitely trigger a change in the world, and we'll be able to sense it long before it happens." While they were talking, the man in the fishing net suit saw a tomato flying toward him. By phone, how could Sister Ziqing's star foresight be wrong? Even though the momentary disorder of the power of nature might not be caused by a heavenly treasure, the fact that the power of nature is in constant disorder means that a heavenly treasure is absorbing the power of nature to increase its strength. The black-clothed man named by Feng was just about to speak when a cold and furious voice rang out beside his ears. It's fine if a perfectly fine black chicken named itself by Feng, but can you stop crowing every night when you're absorbing the power of night? It's one thing to chirp during the day, but it's also chirping at night. Does it really think that others don't sleep? When the sturdy man in the black fishnet gauze heard this, he looked at the dark circles under his companion's eyes and said perfunctorily, "All right. I won't crow at night anymore." As he spoke, the muscular man wearing the black fishnet gauze clearly had a "hee-hee, I was just kidding you" expression written all over his face. Everyone who saw this only felt a burst of anger. Ziqing couldn't help but put her hand to her forehead when she saw everyone bickering every time they had a meeting. Looking at the time, Ziqing sat down on one of the chairs in the amethyst cave. Since the bickering had already begun, they wouldn't be able to stop without at least an hour. Ziqing's head hurt from the noise, so she covered her ears with her two furry purple tails. An hour later, Ziqing removed the two furry purple tails from her ears and said, "Since everyone is done arguing, let's start the meeting." The red-haired man, who had been silent all this while, went straight to the point. "I've never been out on a mission before. This time, I'll take on the mission of retrieving the newborn heavenly favored. I'm going to the Radiance continent and the Agility continent. While I'm completing the mission, I can also take a look at the Jade Gui." As he spoke, the tenderness and sorrow on the red-haired man's face intensified. Upon hearing that, Ziqing's face first revealed a yearning expression before she revealed some reluctance. "Shueshua, you might not be a heavenly favored, but after fusing with younger sister Jade Gui's bloodline, you're no different from one now. Logically speaking, I should agree to you going, but you've just undergone the last bloodline metamorphosis, and your strength hasn't recovered yet. Why don't you wait for your strength to recover before setting off to the Radiance Federation's land of lava to remember younger sister Jade Gui?" Upon hearing that, Shueshua lowered his head gently, and the sorrow in his eyes seemed to condense into mist. Shueshua was originally a scarlet tarantula with an ordinary bloodline. However, Shueshua was extremely talented, and when he had become a myth breed, he had stimulated the scarlet tarantula's bloodline to the peak. He could be called a top genius of the scarlet tarantula lineage. Although the scarlet tarantula's bloodline was considered relatively strong among Araxpecies phase, there was still a certain gap when compared to the top few Araxpecies phase bloodlines. Moreover, it was compared to the sundial jade spider's bloodline, which was a heavenly favored. At that time, Shueshua, who had become a myth breed, was inevitably attracted by the pheromones released by the Jade Gui. Just like the other male spider phase, Shueshua also pounced toward the Jade Gui without any regard for his own safety. After seeing the Jade Gui, Shueshua couldn't help but fall in love with it at first sight. Because they happened to be in the same place, Shueshua was the first to arrive. However, Shueshua wasn't eaten by the Jade Gui right away. Shueshua didn't know what the Jade Gui saw in him that made him stay until the very end instead of eating him and obtaining energy from him. Instead, it allowed him to survive. All of the Jade Gui's energy came from the other creation breed and mythical breed arachnid phase that rushed over one after another. In the end, the Jade Gui didn't choose the bloodline of those spider spirit creatures it had eaten, but instead, it made Ji Hao infuse his own bloodline into the egg in the most primitive way of living beings. At that time, Shueshua still remembered what the Jade Gui had told him. "You're so pretty. I want to raise little spiders with you." This could be said to be the most beautiful words of love Shueshua had ever heard. The most perfect way for high-grade phase to express their love was to nurture their offspring together. Let a life tolerate each other's common bloodline and let it continue. Chapter 1047. However, who knew that when the Jade Gui was laying eggs that day, it would encounter the fifth page of truth, which was lurking among the 8 pages of the Radiance Federation's Tower Canon. Not to mention that the Jade Gui that had just laid eggs was already weak, Even if the Jade Gui was at its peak, it would definitely not be a match for the evil 5 pages of truth. In the end, the Radiance Federation's Moon Empress and Chief Guard Yi had to work together to make the 5 pages of truth give up on dealing the final blow to Yugui, who had entered a near-death state. They then snatched the egg that Yugui had just laid, which was the child of Shueisha and Yugui. But in the end, under the attack of the 5 pages of truth, the egg laid by the Jade Gui was still lost. Before his death, Yugui had injected the bloodline of the Sundial Jade Spider into his body. He used the last of his strength to suppress the Sundial Jade Spider bloodline that had suddenly entered his body. Because of the Sundial Jade Spider bloodline in his body, Shueisha was brought back to the Blessed Heaven Mansion. Shueisha had to go through 9 bloodline transformations before he could completely merge Yugui's bloodline with his own bloodline. One had to know that each of the 9 bloodline transformations was a narrow escape from death. It was a miracle that Shueisha had managed to survive the 9 near-death bloodline transformations. As soon as Ziqing finished speaking, Bai Feng, who had always been mischievous, became serious. Bai Feng's face was also filled with obvious sorrow, as if she was sad about the departure of her companions. Sister Ziqing, don't stop Shueisha. I'm afraid Shueisha is going to see if he can find the child that he and Sister Yugui lost. Blue Lotus and I will accompany Shueisha for the mission to the Agro-Pattern Continent and the Radiance Continent. Lan Lian was about to retort when she heard Bai Feng's words. She seemed to be unhappy that Bai Feng brought her into the conversation. However, Blue Lotus didn't say anything in the end. It could be said that Jade Gui had watched Lan Lian grow up. Lan Lian's Lotus Pond could connect to the 4 seas, and it was Yugui who had helped Lan Lian build it. When Yugui entered the pregnancy period and left the Blessed Mansion, Lan Lian kept asking Yugui to be the godmother of the child. The fact that Shueisha was able to survive proved the relationship between Shueisha and the Jade Gui. Blue Lotus was naturally duty-bound to go out and look for the sundial to find the lost bloodline. Even if Bai Feng didn't bring it up, Lan Lian would have brought it up on her own. However, Lan Lian felt a little displeased that Bai Feng was representing her. However, this was clearly not the time for her to quarrel with Bai Feng. I rely on absorbing the power of water from the waters of the world. Look at this crystal ball. The power of nature that this little fellow absorbs comes from the weather phenomena of cloudy, sunny, snowflakes and so on. The snowflakes that fall will eventually turn into water. In terms of the power of nature, my perception of the little fellow is much stronger than Bai Feng's. I'll go with Shueisha to complete the mission. Sister Ziqing can rest assured. Bai Feng rolled her eyes when she heard that. You make it sound like Sister Ziqing is worried about me and Shueisha going on a mission. Bitch! How dare you step on me? Damn it! Ziqing was silent for a moment before replying. Of course I'll be at ease if the 3 of you go. Since Shueisha is so determined, then the 3 of you will go. At this point, Ziqing's eyes flashed fiercely. The Blessed Dojo has always stood aloof from worldly affairs, only seeking to have a piece of paradise in the great world. However, don't be afraid of stirring up trouble if you encounter a problem that isn't easy to solve. If you encounter someone from the Pagoda Cannon, don't waste your breath and just kill him. As Ziqing spoke, the eyes of the 16 figures, including Shueisha, burst with dense killing intent. This killing intent was also faintly filled with an immortal aura. Hello, I'm Brahma Scissorwing from the Brahma Insect Cage. Do you still remember me? Upon hearing the voice on the other end of the phone, Lin Yuan raised his eyebrows. It could be said that the Brahma Insect Cage's call was very much in line with Lin Yuan's wishes. He was not unfamiliar with the name Brahma Scissorwing. After developing his faction in Sky City, Lin Yuan had read a lot about the veteran factions and top factions. He had even roughly flipped through the information on the rising factions. Of course, he knew what the name Brahma Scissorwing meant to the Brahma Insect Cage. However, he could not see a person's appearance in the written information. Now, Lin Yuan finally matched the appearance with the name. Based on the voice he had heard on the phone, Lin Yuan could confirm that the silver-haired old woman who had been riding the sky snake vulture in the royal capital's suburbs was the Brahma insect cage's famous Brahma scissor wing. While Lin Yuan was pondering, Brahma scissor wing, who had thought for an entire night before deciding to call, could not sit still. Brahma scissor wing's hand, which was holding the phone, could not help but tremble slightly, and fine sweat seeped out of his forehead. This was because this call was related to Lin Yuan's attitude toward him and the Brahma insect cage. If Brahma scissor wing had offended Zhong Zhe and Gu Lang at that time, even if Brahma scissor wing needed to apologize afterward, there was no need to worry so much. Since the Brahma insect cage had always been backed by the Moon Empress, even if it provoked the Bamboo Monarch and Chef Supreme. As long as the Bamboo Monarch and Chef Supreme did not directly attack the Brahma insect cage, it would not affect much. However, if it offended Lin Yuan, not only would it make the Moon Empress angry, but it would also inevitably cause the Brahma insect cage to bear the reputation of biting the hand that fed it. Without the Moon Empress backing, it would be very difficult for the Brahma insect cage's top combat strength to increase again. In addition, Brahma scissor wing had made this call with a mission. He wanted to see if he could ask for the Golden Lotus brocade from Lin Yuan. The Golden Lotus brocade was something that could change a creation master's pattern and was a resource that the veteran factions and top factions had to fight for. Arriving one day later than the other factions was a huge loss for the Brahma insect cage. The Brahma insect cage, which had dominated the three major factions for 30 years, could not and did not want to bear such a loss. After staying high in the clouds for a long time, no one was willing to fall into the dust again. Therefore, Brahma scissor wing's voice trembled on the other end of the phone. "Young lord, you were the one who gave me the phone. You also said that the visitor is a guest." Upon hearing Brahma scissor wing's voice again, Lin Yuan replied with a smile, "That's right. That's right, those who come are guests." At that time, I still have to thank Senior for giving Endless Summer the creation seed sky-covering weeping willow tree core, which allowed Endless Summer to obtain the opportunity to transform. In the end, Endless Summer and I still need to thank Senior. As for the Slaughter Sky Butterfly, Lin Yuan did not mention it. The Slaughter Sky Butterfly had already become a creation breed, and the Brahma insect cage must not know about this. Emperor-class combat strength was definitely the most important thing for a top combat strength that could not be easily used. If Brahma scissor wing knew that the Slaughter Sky Butterfly had become a creation breed in his hands. Even if Brahma scissor wing did not express anything, he would definitely cause a huge hatred for Lin Yuan behind his back. The gains did not make up for the losses. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Brahma scissor wing's heart that was in his throat immediately calmed down. At the same time, he could not help but have a good impression of Lin Yuan. End of this chapter. Chapter 1048. Fan Jianyi hurriedly replied, "What are you talking about? It's our Brahma insect cage's fault for not keeping an eye on the slaughter worms and bringing trouble to your subordinates. I wonder if you have the time. I would like to pay you a visit to express my apology again." Lin Yuan raised his brows when he heard Fan Jianyi's words. Brahma Scissorwing was smart enough to push all the blame onto the slaughter worm, leaving himself completely unscathed. At the same time, Lin Yuan vaguely guessed why Fan Jianyi wanted to visit him in the mansion. If it was just to express his apology, then Fan Jianyi's call was enough. However, Fan Jianyi insisted on visiting him. On one hand, he wanted to make a gesture, and on the other hand, he wanted to discuss a deal face-to-face. The resources that Fan Jianyi cared about were the Golden Lotus Brocade and the law crystals that contained pure power of laws. The Coiling Dragon Valley and Aurora Cloud Bird Cage would not reveal that he had the law crystals that contained pure power of laws. Therefore, Fan Jianyi could only be looking for the Golden Lotus Brocade to trade with him. Lin Yuan, who was in urgent need of the elemental shellfish, was waiting for someone to trade with him. "You are a guest. If Senior is willing to pay a visit, this Junior will naturally welcome you." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Brahma Scissorwing said excitedly, "I wonder if your highness is free today or tomorrow." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan replied, "Just call me Lin Yuan." Today is a good day, and the sky is clear. It's a good time to hold a banquet. Even if Fan Jianyi wanted to come tomorrow, Lin Yuan would not agree. In a day, Lin Yuan's spirit lock spatial zone could produce a lot of elemental pearls. Now that Gray's favored spirit had completely emptied the elemental pearls, Lin Yuan did not want to waste even a single one. Fan Jianyi was happy and excited to see Lin Yuan so enthusiastic. Anyway, the Brahma insect cage had already prepared the resources to apologize to Lin Yuan. He only needed to bring the supplies over. Even if he went over now, he would not be rude because he was unprepared. After agreeing on a time with Fan Jianyi, Lin Yuan stood up from the sofa and stretched. He was thinking about how many golden lotus brocade he should use to exchange for a young elemental shellfish. The Brahma insect cage might not necessarily have the stock of young elemental shellfish. However, with the status and strength of the Brahma insect cage, it would not be difficult for them to obtain young elemental shellfish from other forces. Therefore, when trading with the Brahma insect's cage, it would be the same as trading with the Radiance Federation's various veteran factions and top factions in terms of young elemental shellfish. Originally, Lin Yuan had only wanted to trade for 7 or 8 infant elemental shellfish. Now that the Brahma insect's cage had taken the initiative to deliver itself to him, he naturally would not waste this opportunity. He planned to obtain as many young elemental shellfish from the Brahma insect cage through trade. After Lin Yuan's spirit lock spatial zone had evolved, he had tried his best to make use of the space in the spirit lock spatial zone. After putting in a large amount of wood and coral jade, Hu Chuanxin filled up the spirit lock spatial zone with the new shelves. However, for wood to become jade textured, and for coral jade to grow insect patterns, the consumption of pure spiritual energy wasn't much. Even though the spirit lock spatial zone was already filled to the brim, it still hadn't reached the spirit pool's limit of breaking down energy ores to release spirit chi. Gray did not need to consume as much spirit chi as before in the spirit lock spatial zone. This made the spirit lock spatial zone's spirit chi utilization even lower. Therefore, he planned to use as many elemental shellfish as possible to make up for the high-density spirit chi consumption in the spirit lock spatial zone. Otherwise, the high concentration of spiritual energy would be wasted. Lin Yuan naturally did not wish to waste any of the concentrated spirit chi that the outside world did not have. The high concentration of spirit chi in the spirit lock spatial zone was actually his capital to accumulate resources. At the same time, Qin Luan and Qin Yu needed the extreme night jade scorpion. On the extreme night jade sky scorpion, Lin Yuan planned to ask if the Brahma insect cage had it. Lin Yuan had yet to use the jasmine lily's vitality energy, which came with its exclusive skill, to stimulate the extreme night jade sky scorpion bloodline hidden in Qin Yu's body and awaken the beast pattern. Qin Yu was still young, so he wasn't in a hurry. However, Qin Luan had already awakened his beast mark and was 18 or 19 years old. Qin Luan, who had awakened his beast mark, did not have a contract with the extreme night jade falling scorpion, which was equivalent to wasting his talent. Lin Yuan had already taken Qin Luan into Sky City, so he naturally could not see Qin Luan's talent being wasted day by day. While Lin Yuan was on the phone with Brahma Scissor Wing, the thin layer of snow that had fallen in the return from faraway manor had melted halfway. Walking on the snow, Lin Yuan, who had been sitting for an entire night, looked at the emerald color that had faintly broken through the blood-colored surface. It just so happened that when you had used the new flower buds that had just bloomed from the cinnabar sweet osmanthus in front of the courtyard and the peony veins of the bronze/legend golden petals peony in the mansion, as well as the dew from the reflection sun king lotus that had been soaked with sun energy to brew a cinnabar peony tea. Although this cinnabar peony tea did not taste as refreshing as the Three Treasures tea, it had a bit more of the fragrance of osmanthus and peony. After taking a sip, it was like walking through a field of flowers and being surrounded by flowers. The cinnabar peony tea could be used to entertain Brahma Scissor Wing later. Thinking of Brahma Scissor Wing's attitude toward him on the phone, Lin Yuan could not help but shrug. Lin Yuan was really afraid that when Brahma Scissor Wing arrived, he would be too embarrassed to mention the golden lotus brocade. Lin Yuan simply took out a pot of golden lotus brocade and placed it on the completely jade-made tea table. Lin Yuan felt that this hint was already obvious enough. It was equivalent to indicating to Brahma's scissor wing that he had the golden lotus brocade. Lin Yuan had his own considerations as to why he had only placed one pot of golden lotus brocade and not 10 or 20 pots on the table. Lin Yuan still understood the principle of something being rare being precious. A pot of golden lotus brocade would also allow Brahma's scissor wing to properly evaluate the price of the golden lotus brocade beads. He would see what ratio the golden lotus brocade beads should be traded for with the young elemental shellfish. As for how many pots of golden lotus brocade beads should be traded, it was not a problem for Lin Yuan. The little fairy brocade could be said to be the biggest model worker in the Spirit Lock spatial zone. She nurtured golden lotus brocade seedlings in the Spirit Lock spatial zone day and night. Now, Lin Yuan had accumulated nearly 100 golden lotus brocade seedlings, which were more than enough to trade with the Brahma insect cage. After Lin Yuan returned to the mansion, he personally brewed a pot of cinnabar peony tea and then brought Grey, which was wantonly absorbing the sunny weather in the sky, back into the Spirit Lock spatial zone. In a while, Brahma's scissor wing, an emperor-class expert, would come to the mansion. If Lin Yuan left Grey outside, it would immediately expose the fact that Grey was a favorite spirit. According to Mystic Moon, the Brahma insect cage had always been relying on her master, the Moon Empress. Even so, Lin Yuan could not be at ease if the Brahma insect cage knew of Grey's existence. First, end of this chapter. Chapter 1049. On the other side, after Fan Jianyi hung up the call with Lin Yuan, he immediately went to find the Brahma insect cage's current family head, Fan Linglong. He reported to Fan Linglong that he was going to meet the Moon Empress disciple. When Fan Ling Luo heard Fan Jianyi's report, his heart that had been in his throat all this time finally calmed down. His big sister had personally gone to the return from faraway manor to apologize to the Moon Empress disciple. Even the Moon Empress would be able to pass this matter safely. As long as the Brahma insect cage could rely on the Moon Empress, it would be fine. Seeing Fan Linglong's expression, Fan Jianyi was also relieved. These few days, his little brother had been worried about the trouble that he had caused. Linglong, I plan to bring Hanqing to the return from faraway manor. Hanqing is our Brahma insect cage's elder association's #1 among the younger generation and has been nurtured according to the family head's model. This meeting with the Moon Empress disciple will be a good opportunity. After hearing Fan Jianyi's words, Fan Linglong thought carefully. Fan Linglong was extremely satisfied with Fan Hanqing. However, as a young man, Fan Hanqing was only 23 years old and still had some edges. He was filled with a sense of justice that an old man like him could not understand. If Fan Jianyi brought Fan Hanqing to meet the Moon Empress disciple, if Fan Hanqing said something wrong and caused the Moon Empress disciple to be unhappy, it would be a wasted trip. In that case, this trip would be equivalent to a wasted trip, and it might even have the opposite effect. In the end, Fan Linglong still nodded. After all, the Brahma insect cage was backed by the Moon Empress. Before knowing that the Moon Empress had a disciple, there was no need to consider this aspect. Now that the Moon Empress had a disciple, only if Fan Hanqing and Lin Yuan were on good terms could the Brahma insect cage and the Radiant Moon Palace have a closer relationship. After Lin Yuan drank 2 cups of tea, there were strange sounds of insects coming from outside the return from faraway manor. Without a doubt, Lin Yuan knew that Fan Jianyi had arrived. When Wen Yu heard the insects, she immediately walked out of her room and went downstairs. After seeing Lin Yuan, she said, "Young master, someone is visiting." "Young master, someone has come to visit. I'll go receive him." Lin Yuan nodded in response. He had told Wen Yu that Fan Jianyi was going to visit the return from faraway manor while he was cooking the cinnamon peony tea. Wen Yu was the most suitable person to receive an emperor-level powerhouse like Fan Jianyi. Wen Yu left the mansion and saw 9 insect species phase in the sky. Their abdomens seemed to have huge bells. These 9 golden insect species phase with bell-shaped abdomens were the Brahma insect cage's representative phase, the Brahma sound insects. The Radiance Federation's major factions knew that as long as the Brahma sound insects appeared, it meant that the Brahma insect cage's people were doing something. In the Brahma insect cage, the Fey carriages driven by the Brahma sound insects were divided into 10 grades. The chariot insect cage, which was controlled by 10 Sanskrit sound insects, would only be used when visiting the Leaning Moon Mountain's Radiant Moon Palace to visit the Moon Empress. The 9 Brahma sound insects pulling the carriage could be said to represent the Brahma insect cage's greatest sincerity to Lin Yuan. Fan Jianyi gave Fan Hanqing a few instructions on the Fey carriage, which gave Fan Hanqing a headache. He was chosen by the Elder Council of the Brahma insect cage and was appointed as the young master of the Brahma insect cage a few years ago. Fan Hanqing naturally had the cage of Brahma worms, which was a skill that none of the younger generation could compare to. Fan Hanqing had also followed the Brahma spirit cage to participate in the Great Night General Meeting. Fan Hanqing had a good impression of Lin Yuan from the very beginning, especially after he had become the champion of the civil and martial duels. Although Fan Hanqing did not cause any waves in the Great Night General Meeting, he had indeed participated in the civil and martial duels. Fan Hanqing still regretted participating in the civil and martial duels with such strange rules. If he had participated in the martial duels, Fan Hanqing felt that he might have been able to obtain a ranking and obtain rewards. Fan Hanqing might be a Class 3 Advanced Creation Master, but he admitted that his ability as a Creation Master was far weaker than his Combat Class Spirit Chi professional strength. Fan Hanqing had been tormented in the civil and martial duels. The test question that Fan Hanqing had drawn was the one that he did not want to draw the most. It was a test to heal Fays with damaged roots. Coincidentally, one of the Fays with damaged roots was a gold smelly beetle. At that time, the gold smelly beetle's carapace had been shattered, and its insect wings had been flipped. The smelly beetle had been in pain, anxiety, and nervousness. It had instinctively released extremely smelly farts to protect itself. After inhaling the smelly farts for nearly 20 minutes, Fan Hanqing had felt dizzy and could not even eat properly. Just as Fan Hanqing was about to put down the Fey in his hand to heal the smelly beetle and stop it from farting, the civil and martial duels had ended the civil and martial duels. At that time, Fan Hanqing silently lamented in his heart, "Are the top 3 still human?" He had not even completed half of the test, and someone else had already completed it. After exiting, Fan Hanqing found out that the first place of the test was a youth that was only 17 or 18 years old. This youth was called Lin Yuan. At that time, Lin Yuan's name had left an indelible impression in Fan Hanqing's heart. Moreover, Lin Yuan and Zhong Zai's martial duel had been breathtaking. Especially Lin Yuan's final attack, which had made Fan Hanqing rather admire him. After finding out that Lin Yuan was the Moon Empress disciple, Fan Hanqing could not help but regret not trying to join that small group to get to know Lin Yuan. Now, he finally had the opportunity to get to know Lin Yuan. However, Fan Hanqing was very clear why he had come to the Return from Faraway Manor this time. Fan Hanqing was already thinking in his heart about how he should approach Lin Yuan to gain Lin Yuan's favorable impression. When Fan Jianyi brought Fan Hanqing out of the Fey carriage, he saw Wen Yu waiting at the entrance of the manor. The moment Fan Jianyi saw Wen Yu, he could feel the elegant temperament of Wen Yu. Fan Jianyi was simply too familiar with this temperament. It could be said that all the spirit attendants in the Radiant Moon Palace had this temperament when they were out working. This woman should be a spirit attendant. However, for a spirit attendant woman to appear in the Return from Faraway Manor, it meant that this woman had an extraordinary relationship with Lin Yuan. Fan Jianyi, who was an Emperor-class expert, had already pulled Fan Hanqing in front of Wen Yu. He warmly greeted Wen Yu. Wen Yu returned the salute and made a gesture of invitation. "Young master personally brewed tea and is waiting for the two of you." Wen Yu's words allowed Fan Jianyi to have some confidence in his heart. No matter what, Lin Yuan had personally brewed tea for him, which meant that Lin Yuan did not blame him. This way, Fan Jianyi's heart was much more relaxed. The second was even more. End of this chapter. Chapter 1050. Fan Jianyi and Fan Hanqing followed behind and didn't dare to look around the Return from Faraway Manor's environment. It would be frivolous and disrespectful to look around during a visit. When they arrived at the entrance of the manor, Fan Jianyi and Fan Hanqing noticed a youth with an outstanding aura waiting at the entrance. When the youth saw the two of them, he smiled and spoke to them as though they were old friends. "You are here. Come in and have a seat. It snowed last night, and the temperature dropped drastically. Have a cup of freshly brewed hot tea to warm your body." The youth spoke with a smile on his face. When he sat down on the water rhinoceros leather sofa, he poured 2 cups of fragrant hot tea from the white teapot. Fan Jianyi and Fan Hanqing didn't feel reserved when they saw Lin Yuan's warmth. Inside the house, there was a completely jade-textured golden bamboo incense burner that looked like the shadow of a crane flying under the light. Smoke was rising in spirals. Fan Jianyi and Fan Hanqing could immediately tell that the incense burner was burning with agarwood. Furthermore, it wasn't just ordinary agarwood. The agarwood was like a solid rock. With such a mellow fragrance, it was probably jade-textured. It might even be a jade-textured top-notch agarwood. Although Fan Jianyi and Fan Hanqing didn't look around, their eyes still touched the golden peony on the table, the red sandalwood longevity fish tank, and the golden lotus before them. It could be said that the decorations in the manor were unimaginably luxurious in a plain and natural manner. The bronze/legend Fae, the Brahma insect cage, also had one. However, the Brahma insect cage was something that a pinnacle class for creation master had accumulated over dozens of years of continuous enhancement of Faes. The golden peony was just an ornamental Fae, but there was actually a creation master who chose to enhance it. Just the creation master resources flowing on the surface of this manor were already shocking. The 5 fortune ranches in the red sandalwood longevity fish tank might be expensive, but it was just a common item for pinnacle factions. However, the 3 carps in the fish tank had the most pure colors. Each color seemed to be able to reach the origin of all things. Yellow, blue, emerald, green, purple, red, orange, black. The 8 colors of Qian Kun determined the immeasurable, the 8 colors of formless gave birth to life. 8 colors and 6 blessings. The happy bat longevity mark on the fish's forehead symbolized a flood of good fortune. The Pan Chong longevity mark on the fish's eyes symbolized a bright future. The pine deer longevity pattern on the fish's fins meant that the pine deer lived together in spring. The golden pomegranate longevity pattern on the fish's abdomen meant that the pomegranate would blossom into 100 seeds. The zodiac orchid longevity mark on the fish's scales symbolized longevity, while the Jiangwu longevity mark on the fish's tail symbolized longevity. The everlasting rivers and mountains rune fell on the back of the fish, revealing its stature. 8 kinds of positive colors and 6 kinds of fortune and longevity runes flowed on the bodies of the 3 carps. Yan Shanha's lifespan was calculated, and he had endless blessings. What kind of auspicious beasts were these 3 carps? As an emperor stage expert, Fan Jianyi suddenly felt as though he had become an ignorant child who had just come out of the mountains. However, Fan Jianyi knew that he came from a top force, the Brahma insect's cage, so how could he be ignorant? It could only mean that the level and wealth of the youth in front of him were beyond his imagination. Fan Jianyi wanted to pick up the hot tea that Lin Yuan had just brewed to calm his nerves. However, as soon as the tea entered his mouth, it was as though thousands of roses and osmanthus flowers had bloomed in front of him. The fragrance of the flowers seeped into his mouth, and even the tip of his tongue was tainted with a fragrance that could not be dispelled. Fan Jianyi almost coughed when he tasted the tea. Fan Jianyi could tell that the peony used to make the tea came from the gold/legend gold petal peony placed not far in front of him. Fan Jianyi could not help but feel puzzled. Could it be that the gold/legend gold petal peony was not meant to be looked at, but eaten? Suppressing the various emotions in his heart, Fan Jianyi glanced at Fan Hanqing, who was sitting beside him and staring at Lin Yuan with a burning gaze. He coughed lightly. Fan Hanqing hurriedly took out a brocade box and handed it to Lin Yuan. Just as Lin Yuan reached out to take the brocade box, Fan Hanqing spoke. "This is an apology gift prepared by Grandpa and Grandaunt for you. I hope you can accept it." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan did not open the brocade box in his hand. Instead, he placed the brocade box on the table and said, "That's right. That day, Senior gave Endless Summer a Creation Breed Phase Tree Core and a Pinnacle Myth 3 Slaughter Worm. It's not appropriate for this junior to accept Senior's items. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Brahma Scissor Wing could not help but feel a little anxious. One of the reasons Fan Jianyi had come to see Lin Yuan was to make Lin Yuan completely forgive him for his mistakes. It was just for a peace of mind. Lin Yuan's refusal to accept his gift of apology caused Brahma Scissor Wing to be terrified. Upon seeing Fan Jianyi's insistence, Lin Yuan picked up the golden lotus brocade on the table and handed it to Fan Hanqing, who had just stood up but had yet to sit down. Since that's the case, I'll take the item in this brocade box as a gift for you when you visit the manor. Take this golden lotus brocade stock as my gift to you. It could be said that after Brahma Scissor Wing withdrew his gaze from the Three Mountain River Eternal Life Carps, his eyes had been fixed on the golden lotus. Lin Yuan could see his burning gaze very clearly. However, seeing that Fan Jianyi had not spoken for a long time, Lin Yuan might as well help Fan Jianyi start the conversation. Lin Yuan's actions were equivalent to indicating to Fan Jianyi that he had many golden lotus brocade stocks. Giving a golden lotus brocade stock as a gift was nothing to him. Logically speaking, Lin Yuan could accept the brocade box that Fan Hanqing handed over with a peace of mind. However, while the Brahma insect cage was trying its best to curry favor with Lin Yuan also had plans to befriend the Brahma insect cage. Fan Hanqing looked at the golden lotus brocade stalk in his hand and used his hand to gently pinch its leaves. As an advanced Class 3 creation master, Fan Hanqing could immediately confirm that the rumors about the golden lotus brocade stalk in the market were not false at all. The golden lotus brocade stalk was indeed a cardinal treasure that could change a creation master's pattern. Upon seeing that his aunt, Fan Jianyi, had not spoken to Lin Yuan about the golden lotus brocade stalk after receiving it, Fan Hanqing asked softly, "Lord Lin Yuan, do you have any extra golden lotus brocade stalks? Lord Lin Yuan, do you have any extra golden lotus brocade stalks? If it's possible, our Brahma worm's cage would like to trade some." Fan Hanqing's straightforward proposal made Fan Jianyi frown. They had only been here for a short period of time, yet they immediately brought up the topic of trading the golden lotus brocade beads. It was too obvious. Just as Fan Jianyi was about to say something to smooth things over, Lin Yuan spoke. "You're Fan Hanqing, right? I know you. The third one." Everyone felt that it was better to always give the main character the perspective, and at least give some of the main supporting characters a little more. End of chapter. Chapter 1051. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Fan Hanqing immediately looked at Lin Yuan in surprise. He did not understand how Lin Yuan knew him. Fan Hanqing was the young family master of the Brahma insect cage, one of the top 3 factions, and Sheng Yin was the young family master of the Rhine life form clan. They did not participate in the Radiance 100 sequence selection. However, Fan Hanqing and Sheng Yin each received a Radiant Light medal. They were qualified to participate in the Radiance Envoy and Radiance Knight Regiment selection. Compared to Sheng Yin, Fan Hanqing was much more low-key. On the contrary, Fan Han's younger siblings, who were born in the Brahma worm cage, were more high-profile in their actions. Fan Hanqing could not think of how Lin Yuan could recognize him. Just as Fan Hanqing was feeling puzzled, Lin Yuan said, "I saw your celestial stairway duels on Star Web. I happen to have some golden lotus brocade stocks left. It is naturally not a problem for the Brahma insect cage to trade them. I am in urgent need of some young elemental shellfish. I wonder if the Brahma insect cage has any in stock." Lin Yuan was not lying. When he was free, he would always go to the Star Web Celestial Stairway video library to watch the duels. He wanted to understand the strength of the current younger generation. He knew that the Radiance 100 sequence members were all hiding their strength. Everyone wanted to fight for the Radiance Envoy's qualification to be in the top 10 of the sequence. They could not reveal themselves in the Celestial Stairway duels. After making this clear, Lin Yuan did not watch the Radiance 100 sequence members' duels anymore. Instead, He looked for some Star Web videos of duels that went all out to watch according to the comments on Star Web. Among them, Fan Hansheng's duel had left a very deep impression on Lin Yuan. Fan Hansheng had encountered a pinnacle king-class expert who was nearly 50 years old. During the duel, Fan Hansheng had been steadily suppressing the pinnacle king-class expert's two contracted Diamond X/Fantasy V phase. If Lu Jia did not have any more trump cards, Fan Hansheng would participate in the martial duel. Even Lu Jia could very well fail. Of course, such a situation would not happen, as Lu Jia still had more than half of his trump cards. Now that Lu Jia's insect queen controlled the key insect species Carcinoma Fei, Fan Hansheng would not have any chance. The Celestial Stairway recording of the battle between Fan Hansheng and the pinnacle king-class expert had touched Lin Yuan's heart. He had realized that the younger generation could be so powerful. It could be said that Fan Hansheng's Celestial Stairway video had invisibly spurred Lin Yuan on, allowing him to set a goal and stride forward with greater effort. Apart from Fan Hansheng's strength, his main Fei had also left a deep impression on Lin Yuan. Fan Hansheng's main Fei was a star dragonfly. Star dragonflies got their name because their bodies contained enormous wind and fire elemental energy that was as enormous as a star. Dragonfly Feis were the overlords among insect species Feis in prehistoric times. They were also the first batch of life forms to rule the sky. It could be said that almost all dragonfly Feis were abnormally sensitive to spirit chi. For example, the mist flame dragonfly that Lin had previously cultivated, which had awakened the bloodline of the prehistoric giant vein dragonfly, had the possibility of transforming into a star dragonfly after special cultivation. The Diamond X/Fantasy V star dragonfly that Fan Hansheng had displayed in the Celestial Stairway duel had not awakened the bloodline of the prehistoric giant vein dragonfly. It was not that Fan Hansheng did not want to, but that Fan Hansheng and the Brahma insect cage could not get the pure spirit chi of the prehistoric giant vein dragonfly that had awakened the star dragonfly. However, pure spirit chi was just a piece of cake for Lin Yuan. However, Lin Yuan was not a philanthropist. It was impossible for him to take the initiative to help others phase that could enhance and purify their bloodline. Therefore, Lin Yuan did not lead the conversation to the situation of Fan Hansheng's main Fei, the star dragonfly bloodline. What Lin Yuan had just said made Fan Hansheng and Fan Jianyi immediately show joy on their faces. Yes, of course. After proposing the exchange, Fan Hansheng did not say anything else. With his grand-aunt around, even as the Brahma insect cage's young family master, it was not good for him to trade with Lin Yuan on behalf of the Brahma insect cage. Although young elemental shellfish were rare, the Brahma insect cage, which had dominated the top factions for 30 to 30 years, also had some in stock. Young elemental shellfish could be considered foundational resources. However, the elemental shellfish could not be nurtured without high-ranked creation masters. Without high-ranked creation masters to nurture them, the elemental shellfish was just trash. Therefore, young elemental shellfish were not on the same level as the golden lotus brocade in Fan Jianyi's heart. Upon hearing Fan Jianyi's reply, Lin Yuan spoke again. Then how are you going to use the young elemental shellfish to exchange for the golden lotus brocade in my hands? Fan Jianyi probed. Lord Lin Yuan, I'm going to use 3 young elemental shellfish to exchange for 2 golden lotus brocade. I wonder if you think it is feasible? Upon hearing Fan Jianyi's words, Lin Yuan raised his brows slightly. Lin Yuan did not expect Fan Jianyi to be willing to use 3 young elemental shellfish to exchange for 2 golden lotus brocade. It could be said that Fan Jianyi's offer was far beyond Lin Yuan's expectations. If this was the exchange, he would be able to obtain 9 elemental shellfish that could continuously produce heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls for 6 golden lotus brocade. Others might need to think about it, but this was definitely a profitable deal for Lin Yuan. However, Fan Jianyi did not know what Lin Yuan was thinking. Upon seeing Lin Yuan raise his brows, Fan Jianyi's heart immediately thumped. Fan Jianyi had suspected more than once that he was too greedy. If he had known earlier, he would have used 2 young elemental shellfish to exchange for 1 golden lotus brocade. Fan Jianyi had offered 3 young elemental shellfish to exchange for 2 golden lotus brocade because the Brahma insect cage currently only had 6 young elemental shellfish. Fan Jianyi's expectation was to exchange for at least 4 more pots of golden lotus brocade. As one of the top 3 pinnacle factions, the Brahma insect cage occupied 70% of the Radiance Federation's insect-type Fey market. It also had a massive supply of Creation Master resources. The Brahma insect cage had a total of 4 pinnacle class for Creation Masters. The 4 pinnacle class for Creation Masters naturally had to be provided with a pot of golden lotus brocade. Fan Hansheng was the Brahma insect cage's young family head, and Fan Jianyi also wanted to provide one for Fan Hansheng. Therefore, Fan Jianyi had offered such an offer. Just as Fan Jianyi was feeling awkward and did not know if he should change the offer, Lin Yuan said, "This price is fine. That's a good price. I can give you 10 brocade golden lotus plants in exchange." Lin Yuan's words allowed Fan Jianyi to relax. While he was overjoyed, he could not help but feel awkward. Apart from the 6 young elemental shellfish that the Brahma insect cage currently had, it did not have more young elemental shellfish to exchange for the 10 golden lotus brocade that Lin Yuan had. Chapter 1052. Immediately after, Brahma Scissor Wing made up his mind. No matter how many resources he had to spend on the Brahma insect cage, he had to obtain 9 young elemental shellfish from the other factions to complete the transaction with Lin Yuan. If he had 10 golden lotus brocade tufts and the one that Lin Yuan had gifted him, he would have 11 golden lotus brocade tufts. He would be able to equip a class for Creation Master or a pinnacle class for Creation Master with a full Brahma insect cage. Such an arrangement was equivalent to increasing the Brahma insect cage's high-class Creation Master resources by 20%. As for the problem of how to trade for the infant elemental shellfish from the other forces, Van Cliff didn't want to worry about it. Instead, he decided to leave it to his little brother, the Brahma spirit cage, to think of a solution. With the strength and status of the Brahma worm's cage, it would not be particularly difficult for them to obtain young elemental shellfish even when they were at their rarest. After making up his mind, Fan Jianyi hurriedly said, "Lord Lin Yuan, I will let Hansheng return to the Buddhist insect cage to retrieve 6 infant elemental shellfish for you. As for the remaining 9 infant elemental shellfish, I will get Hansheng to send them to you within these 2 days." Upon hearing Brahma Scissor Wing's words, Lin Yuan was overjoyed. It seemed like the transaction was a success. Lin Yuan had his own considerations for saying that he wanted to exchange 10 golden lotus brocade trunks for 15 young elemental shellfish. Based on his judgment of the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone, 15 bronze/legend elemental shellfish, which consumed large amounts of pure spirit chi, would enter the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone. It should be able to make the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone's consumption of spirit chi equal to the output of spirit chi from the spirit pool. In such a situation, even if Lin Yuan had more young elemental shells, he wouldn't be able to use them. "Alright. No problem. I'll have to trouble Hansheng to deliver the young elemental shellfish to the manor." Lin Yuan's words made Fan Hansheng, who was about to leave the manor to retrieve the infant elemental shellfish, shudder. This was because Fan Hansheng could feel Lin Yuan's kindness toward him from the way he addressed him. This also let Fan Hansheng know that he had the possibility of becoming friends with Lin Yuan. Fan Hansheng intended to manage his friendship with Lin Yuan well in the future. After Fan Hansheng left, Lin Yuan noticed that Fan Jianyi had been chatting with him, but he did not mention the golden lotus brocade stock again. Lin Yuan could not help but feel a little helpless. Why was the ambition of the Brahma worm's cage, or rather the Brahma Scissor Wing, so small? 10 golden lotus brocade stalks are enough. In fact, Lin Yuan did not know that Brahma Scissor Wing's heart was already blooming with joy after obtaining the 10 golden lotus brocade stalks. Lin Yuan had such thoughts because he had grasped the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone and could easily enhance phase to bronze/legend with his physique. Therefore, he was able to see the value of the golden lotus brocade stock and the preciousness of high-class Creation Masters. Fan Jianyi was satisfied, but Lin Yuan was not. He also wanted to trade for more Law Origin crystals and the extreme Night Jade Sky Scorpion that Qin Luan and Qin Yu needed. After confirming that Brahma Scissorwing had no plans to mention the golden lotus brocade again, Lin Yuan coughed and got straight to the point. Since Senior requires the golden lotus brocade, the Brahma insect cage has a huge business. We have 20 to 30 class 4 creation masters. Senior, do you have any plans to trade for more golden lotus brocade stocks? Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Brahma Scissorwing, who had been secretly delighted that he had not only obtained forgiveness from the return from faraway manor but also obtained 10 golden lotus brocade stocks, was shocked. He looked at Lin Yuan in disbelief and did not understand what Lin Yuan meant. Lin Yuan had mentioned 20 to 30 class 4 creation masters. Could it be that each of these 20 to 30 class 4 creation masters could be equipped with a golden lotus brocade stock? At the thought of this, Brahma Scissorwing's heart immediately surged with an indescribable surprise. It was like an ordinary person who picked up 500 yuan after school and immediately found out from their parents that their house had been demolished and moved when they returned home. It was as though they had become a multi-millionaire. It was still possible for the Brahma insect cage to trade for 9 infant elemental shellfish with other factions. However, when the elemental shellfish were abnormally scarce, it was difficult for the Brahma insect cage to trade for more. Such a trade was the same as other factions helping the Brahma insect cage. The Brahma insect cage could not be casually asked for, and it also required a favor. After knowing that the Brahma insect cage could not take out more infant elemental shellfish, Brahma Scissorwing probed. Lord Lin Yuan, taking out 15 infant elemental shellfish is the limit of our Brahma insect cage. Is there anything else that you need? When Lin Yuan saw Brahma Scissorwing's nervous expression as he desired to trade for more golden lotus brocade stocks, the corners of Lin Yuan's mouth curled up. The Brahma insect cage must have planned how to reverse develop the Abyss world through the Class 6 Abyss dimensional rift. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Fan Jian asked while trying to guess the meaning behind Lin Yuan's words. Lord Lin Yuan, do you mean to exchange the golden lotus brocade for the Brahma insect's cage's shares in the Abyss? As he spoke, Fan Jian calculated the gains and losses in his mind. In the end, Brahma Scissorwing felt that no matter what they used to exchange for the golden lotus brocade stock, it would be a profitable deal for the Brahma insect cage. However, if he wanted to use the shares of the Brahma insect cage in the Abyss world to exchange for the golden lotus brocade stock, he would have to calculate how much he had invested. The Brahma insect cage's Elders Council had decided to abandon the subsidiary projects that were still in operation while maintaining the Radiance Federation's insect market share. Instead, he focused on developing the Abyss world. Under such circumstances, even if the Brahma insect cage developed 1% of the Abyss world's shares, it also represented a huge reserve of resources. Therefore, Fan Jian planned to first explain the scale of the Brahma insect cage's investment in the Abyss world to Lin Yuan. This would also allow Lin Yuan to have a clear decision when proposing to exchange for the shares. If someone else had proposed to exchange the golden lotus brocade stock for the Brahma insect cage's shares in the Abyss world, Fan Jian might not have agreed so readily. However, as the Radiant Moon Palace's young lord, Lin Yuan wanted to trade for the Brahma insect cage's shares, which was what Fan Jian wished for. This way, Lin Yuan would be completely tied to the Brahma insect cage. Later, when the Brahma insect cage encountered some problems, even if it did not trouble Lin Yuan, it would save a lot of trouble. As long as Lin Yuan revealed his cooperation with the Brahma insect cage, it could save a lot of trouble. If it had been before, Lin Yuan might have really considered the Brahma insect cage's shares in the Abyss world. However, Lin Yuan, Gu Lang, Zhong Zhe, Long Tao, and the other 8 people had jointly established the Abyss world's development faction. With his own faction, Lin Yuan, who could obtain the Abyss world's resources, would naturally not consider the Brahma insect cage's resources anymore. Chapter 1053. Just as Brahma's imagination was running wild, Lin Yuan said, "Don't worry. If the Brahma insect cage plans to develop the Abyss world through the Class 6 Abyss dimensional rift, I believe the Brahma insect cage will have more and more law origin crystals. Law crystals shouldn't be of much use to the Brahma insect cage, but I'm rather interested in law origin crystals." With that said, Lin Yuan shook his hand and took out the Law Origin crystal bracelet that he had asked Tu Quan to use the wood weaving house centipede's completely jade-textured silk thread to weave. He held the slightly amber-colored Law Origin crystal in his hand and played with it calmly. Fan Jianyi's brows twitched when he saw Lin Yuan's actions. At that moment, Brahma Scissor Wings suddenly felt that Lin Yuan was no longer the champion of the Evernight Assembly's civil and martial arena. Instead, he was a hedonistic son of a rich family who loved luxurious items. Lin Yuan had specially asked Tu Quan to make this bracelet weaved from the Law Origin crystals after the last trade with the Coiled Dragon Valley and Li Yun Avian Niche. On the one hand, this bracelet weaved from Law Origin crystals was equivalent to telling the other party what he wanted the Law Origin crystals for. On the other hand, it also implied that the Law Origin crystal was just a plaything in his hands. It could imperceptibly lower the price of Law Origin crystals. Upon seeing that Lin Yuan was so interested in the Law Source crystals, Brahma Scissorwing thought of the massive amount of Law Source crystals piled up in the Brahma Insect Cage's treasury. I wonder if Lord Lin Yuan thinks that 100 Law Origin crystals are enough to exchange for the Golden Lotus brocade in your hands? Upon hearing Brahma Jianyi's words, Lin Yuan coughed lightly. Lin Yuan was truly a little surprised. Brahma Scissor Wings' offer was more than 3 times that of Coiling Dragon Valley and Dawn Cloud Avian Niche. Back when he had traded the Golden Lotus brocade with Coiling Dragon Valley's Li Yun Niao Can, he had paid 30 Law Origin crystals for 1 Golden Lotus brocade. Of course, there was a prerequisite to exchanging 30 Law's Origin crystals for a Golden Lotus brocade with Coiling Dragon Valley and Aurora Cloud Nest. The prerequisite was that Coiling Dragon Valley and Dawn Cloud Bird Cage could only use the Golden Lotus brocade. He couldn't trade the Golden Lotus brocade stock. He did not want to set a precedent with the Brahma Insect Cage. If the Golden Lotus brocade were to fall into the hands of other factions from the Brahma Insect's Cage, it would definitely affect Lin Yuan's plan to harvest the major factions' leaks through the Golden Lotus brocade. 100 Law Origin crystals is a little too much. I only need 50 Law Origin crystals to exchange for a Golden Lotus brocade with the Brahma Insect Cage. At the same time, there's a prerequisite to this deal. All the Golden Lotus brocade tufts that the Buddhist Insect Cage obtains from me can only be used by the Buddhist Insect Cage itself. It can't be traded or lent to other forces. This condition also includes the 11 pots of Golden Lotus brocade that were previously confirmed. After Lin Yuan said that, Brahma Scissor Wing immediately agreed without thinking. No problem. Our Brahma Insect's Cage will definitely not trade or lend the brocade Golden Lotus to other forces. After receiving Brahma Scissor Wing's guarantee, Lin Yuan asked him, "How many more Golden Lotus brocades do you need for your Buddhist worm cage?" Seeing that Lin Yuan did not seem to take the Golden Lotus brocade seriously when he spoke, he thought of the massive Law Origin crystals stored in the Brahma Insect Cage. Fan Jianyi said tentatively, "Lord Lin Yuan, can our Brahma Insect's Cage trade 50 pots of Golden Lotus brocade from you?" Upon hearing Brahma Scissor Wing's words, Lin Yuan felt a little speechless. "I asked you to raise it yourself, but you only raised a transaction volume of 50 pots." His ambition was too small. Back then, Li Yun Niao Can and Coiling Dragon Valley had traded a total of 600 pots of Golden Lotus brocade stocks with him. Lin Yuan and the Coiling Dragon Valley had an agreement with Li Yun Avian Can that they would deliver the goods 1 month later. Since Lin Yuan had decided to trade with the Brahma Insect Cage, in that case, it wouldn't be a problem for him to leak the information about Coiling Dragon Valley and Li Yun Avian Niche to Brahma Scissor Wing. Fan Jianyi had probably already heard about Li Yun Niao Can and Coiling Dragon Valley trading for the Golden Brocade Lotus. Of course, Fan Jianyi definitely didn't know that Coiling Dragon Valley and Li Yun Niao Can had traded the Golden Lotus brocade stocks with him. Otherwise, Brahma Scissor Wing wouldn't have reported 50. 50 Golden Lotus brocade stocks isn't a lot. I've already traded Golden Lotus brocade stocks with Coiling Dragon Valley and Li Yun Niao Kansas. There's a first come, first served rule for everything. Even though 50 Golden Lotus brocade stocks isn't a lot, you'll still have to line up behind Coiling Dragon Valley and Dawn Cloud Bird Cage when you trade. Upon hearing that 50 pots of Golden Lotus brocade was not a lot, Brahma Scissorwing immediately revealed a surprised expression. After all, he had only dared to say 50 golden lotus stalks after making a huge decision. Upon hearing Lin Yuan mention the deal between the Coiling Dragon Valley and Li Yun Avian Niche, Brahma Scissorwing asked. Lord Lin Yuan, how many golden lotus brocade stalks did you trade with Coiling Dragon Valley and Li Yun Avian Niche? Lin Yuan stretched out his hand and gently knocked on the table 6 times. Coiling Dragon Valley and Li Yun Niaocan's appetite is not small. The two of them have devoured 600 golden lotus brocade stalks. Who knows when the two clans will come to talk to me about the golden lotus brocade again. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Brahma Scissorwing was so shocked that his jaw nearly dropped to the ground. What were Coiling Dragon Valley and Li Yun Niaocan trying to do? Was he going to provide a golden lotus brocade for all the Class 3 creation masters in the clan? If the Brahma Worm Cage only obtained 61 golden lotus brocade stalks, the Coiling Dragon Valley and the Dawn Cloud Bird Cage would split 600 golden lotus brocade stalks. The Dawn Cloud Bird Cage and the Brahma Worm Cage were very different in terms of family properties, there was no comparison. However, with over 100 golden lotus brocade plants, the Coiling Dragon Valley might be able to surpass the Brahma Worm Cage in a few years' time. Thinking of this, Fan Jianyi hardened his heart and said, Lord Lin Yuan, I wonder if I can trade 800 golden lotus brocade stalks from you. After Fan Jianyi finished speaking, he looked at Lin Yuan with some apprehension. He did not know if Lin Yuan would agree to the deal with him. However, when Fan Jianyi thought about how Lin Yuan could take out 600 golden lotus brocade plants to trade with the Coiling Dragon Valley and the Dawn Cloud Avian Niche, he felt that something was off. He should be able to take out 800 golden lotus brocade stalks. Upon hearing Brahma Scissorwing's second bid, Lin Yuan immediately extended his hand toward him. Happy cooperation. I will hand over these 800 golden lotus brocade stalks to the Brahma Worm's Cage bit by bit after a month. Brahma hurriedly placed his hand on Lin Yuan's. At this moment, Brahma Scissorwing felt a little dazed. He never thought that he would be able to negotiate a deal for 800 golden lotus brocade stalks. This transaction volume was something that Brahma Scissorwing didn't even dare to think about. With these 800 golden lotus brocade stalks, Brahma Scissorwing felt that the Brahma Worm Cage would be able to break the current tripartite situation in less than 3 years. The Brahma Worm Cage would become the top faction in the Radiance Federation. This was also Brahma Scissorwing's lifelong dream. Chapter 1054. Lin Yuan had his own reasons for deciding to make a deal with Brahma Scissorwing for 800 golden lotus brocades. After trading the golden lotus brocade with Li Yun Avian Niche in the Coiled Dragon Valley, he actually did not lack law origin crystals. It would still take a long time for the princess to completely digest the 20,000 law origin crystals she had obtained from the Coiling Dragon Valley and Li Yun Niao, Kansas. The reason he wanted to enter such a large-scale transaction with the Brahma Insect Cage was that Mystic Moon had told him that the Brahma Insect Cage was backed by his master, the Moon Empress. In other words, trading with the Brahma Insect Cage was equivalent to injecting resources into his master's forces. It had imperceptibly increased the Moon Empress' power. Another reason was that he did not intend to let the Golden Lotus brocade tufts flow into more factions in a short time. The influence of the brocade Golden Lotus needed time to grow. The cage of the Brahma insect represented the top forces, the Coiling Dragon Valley represented the middle and upper class forces, and Li Yun Niaocan represented the lower class forces. The Brahma insect's cage, the Coiled Dragon Valley, and the Dawn Cloud Bird Niche could replace the entire Radiance Federation's top factions in terms of hierarchy. After obtaining the Golden Lotus brocade stock, the Brahma Insect Cage, the Coiling Dragon Valley, and the Dawn Cloud Bird Cage would soon rise up and develop rapidly. The other factions had only seen the cage of the Brahma Worm, Coiling Dragon Valley, and Li Yun Niaocan had become stronger after obtaining the Golden Lotus brocade stock. Only then would he be able to better understand the value of the Golden Lotus brocade stock. This way, the price of the brocade Golden Lotus would be even higher. Only then could he use the Golden Lotus brocade beads to better harvest the top faction's leaks. Furthermore, The 800 golden lotus brocade stalks that were traded with the Brahma insect cage and the 600 golden lotus brocade stalks that were traded with the coiling dragon valley and the dawn cloud bird cage. Lin Yuan had already sold a total of 1,400 golden lotus brocade plants. Even if little fairy Jean Say was a model worker, producing golden lotus brocade stalks in the spirit lock spatial zone day and night, the golden lotus brocade stalks were still not enough. It would take at least 2 months for the fairy to produce 1,400 golden lotus stalks. While letting the market ferment, Lin Yuan also wanted to accumulate a batch of golden lotus brocade pearls over time. In the next 2 months, he would focus on providing the golden lotus brocade beads for the coiling dragon valley, the dawn cloud bird cage, and the Brahma insect cage. Even if he wanted to continue trading, he could not take out more golden lotus brocade troughs. After selling the golden lotus brocade tuft in advance, he would no longer have to spend more effort on the golden lotus brocade pearls. He could leave everything to the market. This was because Lin Yuan still had more things to do. He didn't have that much energy to waste either. The 800 golden lotus brocade stalks traded with the Brahma worm cage could be exchanged for 40,000 law origin crystals. Lin Yuan wouldn't have to worry about the princess rations for at least 3 months. These 40,000 law origin crystals could bring him at least 4 nomological worlds and allow him to obtain 4 kinds of sword techniques. After discussing the golden lotus brocade stock with Brahma Scissor Wing, he still had other deals to discuss with Brahma Scissor Wing. Senior, your Brahma insect cage controls a large number of insect resources. I happen to need 2 special insect species phase. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Brahma Scissor Wing's expression immediately turned serious. Lin Yuan was not someone who lacked money. If he needed any insect species phase, he could purchase them on Star Web. Lin Yuan didn't do so but mentioned it to him, which meant that these insect species phase were very precious. They definitely couldn't be bought on the market. Therefore, Brahma Scissor Wing didn't take everything but asked carefully. I don't know what insect species phase Lord Lin Yuan mentioned are. If the Brahma insect cage has them, I definitely won't hide them. While speaking, Brahma Scissor Wing was still complaining in his heart. I've already given you such a precious insect species phase like the slaughter worm. Could other insect species phase be more precious than the slaughter worm? As long as you ask, the Brahma insect cage has them and will definitely offer them to you unconditionally. I wonder if Senior has heard of the extreme night jade scorpion. Upon hearing Lin Yuan mention the extreme night jade scorpion, Brahma Scissor Wing, who had been complaining in his heart, looked at Lin Yuan strangely. He felt that Lin Yuan seemed to know something. The extreme night jade scorpion was Brahma Scissor Wing's younger brother and one of the main phase of the Brahma insect cage's current family master, the Brahma spirit cage. Not long ago, because the Brahma spirit cage's main phase, the extreme night jade scorpion, had given birth to 2 little scorpions, the Brahma insect cage had specially held a family banquet. However, this matter had only happened among the Brahma insect cage's core members, so it shouldn't have spread. It wasn't that the extreme night jade scorpion was precious, but its bloodline couldn't compare to the slaughter sky butterfly, one of the 3 supreme bloodlines of the butterfly phase. At the myth breed level, phase could transform into human form and were no different from humans. The Brahma spirit cage's main phase, the extreme night jade scorpion, had reached the level of a creation breed. This matter concerned the offspring of a creation breed phase, so he still had to ask the Brahma spirit cage and its main phase, the extreme night jade scorpion's opinion. Brahma Scissor Wing couldn't do something like promising someone else's child without their consent. Even if it was the Moon Empress disciple who wanted to trade. Although he couldn't make a decision on his own, Brahma Scissor Wing didn't hide it from Lin Yuan. Instead, he told Lin Yuan everything about the situation. Upon hearing Fan Jianyi's words, Lin Yuan pondered for a moment before replying. Senior, I want 2 extreme night jade scorpions because I have 2 youths who have awakened the beast mark of the extreme night jade scorpion. Because of the beast marks, if these 2 youths don't form a contract with the extreme night jade sky scorpion, it would be a waste of their talent. Of course, if the extreme night jade scorpion is contracted by these 2 youths, not only will its bloodline improve further through the influence of the beast marks, but it will also grow faster. In my opinion, this is a win-win choice. I hope Senior can go back and discuss this properly. If you're worried, you can let the Scorpion take a look at the two youths who have awakened the extreme Night Jade Sky Scorpion's beast marks. Upon hearing that, the Brahma Linglong hurriedly replied solemnly, "That's right. Lord Lin Yuan, I will immediately inquire about this matter when I return. I'll give you an answer within 3 days." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan nodded and thought of the 800 pots of golden lotus brocade pearls in the Brahma insect cage. The golden lotus brocade's effect isn't fixed. There will be more powerful golden lotus brocade pearls to be nurtured in the future. In the end, this junior is looking for Senior's help regarding the extreme Night Jade Sky Scorpion. If the matter can be discussed, this junior can give Senior a guarantee. This guarantee is that when the golden lotus brocade pearls with stronger effects are nurtured in the future, Senior can have priority in trading with the Brahma insect cage. The first was even better. End of this chapter. Chapter 1055. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Brahma Scissorwing's eyes revealed a look of determination and ecstasy. No matter what, when he returned, he had to work hard on the Brahma spirit cage and the extreme Night Jade Sky Scorpion. Actually, Fan Zhenyi felt that if the extreme Night Jade Scorpion was smart enough, it probably wouldn't refuse to let its two children sign a contract with two youths who also had the extreme Night Jade Scorpion bloodline. Moreover, these two youths were the subordinates of the Moon Empress disciple. Moreover, the promise he had just given was related to the Brahma insect cage's future. As one of the leaders of the Brahma worm cage, Brahma Scissorwing had to grasp the bright future no matter what. Your promise is too precious. If there's anything you'd like the cage of the Buddhist worm to do in the future, the cage of the Buddhist worm will do its best. Upon hearing Fan Zhenyi's words, Lin Yuan's expression froze. That was because he did have something that he needed the Brahma worm's cage's help with. This was the Worm's Sun Fund that Yin had set up on Star Web. If he could cooperate with the Brahma insect cage regarding the Worm's Sun Fund, he would have the Brahma insect cage's offline resources and 70% of the market share for insect species phase. The Worm's Sun Fund would no longer need to worry about insect species phase when helping spirit chi professionals. Lin Yuan briefly explained the Worm's Sun Foundation's plan and goal to Brahma Scissorwing. After listening to Lin Yuan's introduction of the Worm's Sun Foundation, Fan Zhenyi looked at Lin Yuan with a different gaze. Not only did Brahma Scissorwing see Lin Yuan's identity and strength, but he also saw his noble and kind character. Fan Zhenyi said, "I'll personally send someone to handle this matter. The Brahma insect's cage will cooperate fully with the Worm's Sun Fund's development." Upon hearing Brahma Scissorwing's guarantee, Lin Yuan revealed a bright smile. A mouthful of white teeth made Brahma Scissorwings a little dazed. "Then I'll have to trouble Senior." At this time, Fan Hanqing walked in from the outside. When Fan Hanqing had been at the mansion's entrance, he had overheard their conversation about the Worm's Sun Foundation. Fan Hanqing recalled what Lin Yuan had said about the Worm's Sun Foundation. He could only feel an unknown thing surging in his heart. This thing was lively, passionate, and boiling hot, as if it could emit specks of radiant light. Fan Hanqing had always wanted to participate in the Radiance Sequence's 100 selection. Fan Hanqing wanted to become one of the Radiance 100's members and do good deeds when they were out on missions. However, due to his identity as the young master of the Brahma insect cage, Fan Hanqing could not show himself too much in public. Therefore, he was destined to not be a member of the Radiance 100 sequence. Now, that youthful enthusiasm was once again stirred by Lin Yuan's words. Fan Hanqing admired Lin Yuan from the bottom of his heart. This admiration had nothing to do with strength. In fact, even after understanding Lin Yuan's strength as a creation master and spirit chi professional, Fan Hanqing had not thought so highly of him. It could be said that he was now doing something that no one had ever done in the Radiance continent's long history. It was to allow all Radiance people who had the talent to become combat-class spirit chi professionals to be equipped with a suitable Fey according to their talent. It also allowed all Feys with damaged roots to become combat partners with combat-class spirit chi professionals after they were healed. This would give both sides a chance to soar into the clouds. But this matter was too difficult. Previously, the Dew Immortal Garden had opened up a second function in addition to plant phase. It had established the Dew Medical. The Dew Medical had distributed resources on a large scale, wanting to help ordinary people and combat-class spirit chi professionals who could not heal themselves. Even so, the Dew Medical's effect was still very weak after being distributed to all parts of the Radiance Federation. This was because the Radiance Federation's territory was simply too big. There might be thousands of counties under a major city, and there were countless towns under the counties. With such a scale of resources pouring out, even the Dew Medical, which was operated by the Dew Immortal Garden and was a pinnacle faction, was still a little stretched. The resources poured out but not in, and there were no benefits to speak of for a profession like the Dew Medical. According to the information received by the Brahma Insect Cage, the original 3 pinnacle class for creation masters in the Dew Immortal Garden had always been quite critical of the Dew Medical. This was also the fuse that caused such a huge change in the Dew Immortal Garden after the death of the old master. However, what the Dew Immortal Garden could not do did not mean that Lin Yuan could not do it. Given Lin Yuan's status and influence, perhaps the Warm Sun Medical would be like a beam of light that could illuminate every corner of the Radiance Federation that could not be illuminated. It would be a light that could be found in the hearts of everyone who was oppressed by life and could not stand up straight. In Fan Hanqing's opinion, Lin Yuan's Warm Sun Fund was even smarter than the Dew Medical. The Dew Medical focused on ordinary people, and such actions could only be used for a moment. However, Lin Yuan targeted those ordinary people who had the ability to become spirit chi professionals. Only when these ordinary people stood up would they be able to better help the other ordinary people around them. It would solve the crisis that came from the mortal world from the root. Hot blood surged in Fan Hanqing's heart, making him a little rash. Great Aunt, let me follow up on the Warm Sun Fund. I will cooperate with Lord Lin Yuan. When Fan Jianyi heard Fan Hanqing's words, he could not help but feel a little helpless. Why is Fan Hanqing still so hot-blooded? However, it was also good. Letting Fan Hanqing follow up on this matter would also give Fan Hanqing more opportunities to communicate with Lin Yuan. Unlike Fan Jianyi, Lin Yuan's eyes flashed with a trace of a smile when he heard Fan Hanqing's words. Fan Hanqing's rashness and hot-bloodedness indirectly proved Fan Hanqing's character to Lin Yuan. This Fan Hanqing was very good. Big Brother Hanqing, then I will look for you for insect resources from the Warm Sun Fund in the future. Don't worry, the Warm Sun Fund will be in charge of the funds. However, the Warm Sun Fund has yet to lay down the foundation for the offline channels. As for the offline channels, I hope Big Brother Hanqing can help me. Don't be stingy. Lin Yuan's address of Big Brother Hanqing stunned Fan Jianyi and Fan Hanqing. Fan Jianyi looked at the golden lotus brocade in his hand and recalled Lin Yuan's promise. However, all of this was perhaps not as precious as Lin Yuan calling him Big Brother Hanqing. These 3 words showed Lin Yuan's intention to befriend Fan Hanqing. This way, the Brahma Insect Cage would be able to get closer to the Radiant Moon Palace because of Lin Yuan and Fan Hanqing's relationship. Fan Hanqing was a heroic person to begin with. After hearing Lin Yuan's words, coupled with the surging hot blood in his heart, he immediately called Lin Yuan Little Brother Lin Yuan. Fan Jianyi's eyebrows twitched when he heard Fan Hanqing's address. He thought to himself that this address was too arrogant. Before Fan Jianyi could remind Fan Hanqing, Fan Jianyi realized that Fan Hanqing and Lin Yuan were already talking about the Warm Sun Fund. The second part was even more interesting. End of this chapter. Chapter 1056. Upon seeing that Lin Yuan didn't mind Fan Hanqing calling him Brother Lin Yuan, Fan Jianyi was relieved. After sending Fan Hanqing and Fan Jianyi off, Lin Yuan opened the diamond phase storage box that Fan Hanqing had handed over. When Fan Hanqing had gone to retrieve the items, he hadn't known that Fan Jianyi had exchanged 50 Law Origin crystals for a golden lotus brocade and 800 golden lotus brocade stalks. Therefore, there were only 6 live young elemental shellfish in the diamond phase storage box. When Lin Yuan saw these 6 young elemental shellfish, he brought them into the Spirit Lock spatial zone without hesitation. He planned to enhance these 6 young elemental shellfish. Lin Yuan's Spirit Lock spatial zone currently had 1 scorching elemental shellfish, 2 celestine elemental shellfish, 2 aquamarine elemental shellfish, and 2 thick earth shellfish. The elemental shellfish only had 4 attributes, and it could be said that Lin Yuan had all the elemental shellfish's attributes. As for the light, dark, thunder, metal, and other attributes, it was impossible to obtain pure elemental energy with the elemental shellfish. If he wanted to obtain pure elemental energy like the light, dark, thunder, metal, and other attributes, he would need to find some special phase or even heaven and earth phase. Just like the blood brew grapevine's blood brew grapes, which contained pure blood energy. Therefore, Lin Yuan still had to choose from the 4 attributes of earth, fire, water, and wind for these 6 new young elemental shellfish. Lin Yuan would still be able to obtain 9 young elemental shellfish, so he didn't hesitate to divide the 6 young elemental shellfish. He decided to nurture 1 into a celestine elemental shellfish, 2 into scorching elemental shellfish, and the remaining 3 into aquamarine elemental shellfish. Lin Yuan had his own reasons for choosing this division. Among all the elemental shellfish that Lin Yuan had, the thick earth elemental shellfish produced was the elemental pearl that he needed the least. The source sand's demand for the earth-type heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls was almost negligible. The greatest consumption of the earth-type heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls was to restore the slaughter butterfly's bloodline. In such a situation, 2 thick earth elemental shellfish were enough. During the development of the abyss, it could be said that most of the rare spiritual ingredients produced were fire-type spiritual ingredients. Therefore, fire attribute heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls were indispensable. However, he only had 1 scorching elemental shellfish, and the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls it produced were obviously not enough. Therefore, Lin Yuan decided to replenish it with 2 more scorching elemental shellfish. Lin Yuan didn't have any need for the celestial elemental shell. Currently, only the wind-speed rapid antelope and the incubating floating island whale were using wind-type heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls in the Spirit Lock spatial zone. 2 celestial elemental shellfish could completely support such consumption, and there would still be a large amount left. As for the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls produced by the aquamarine elemental shellfish, they might be the cheapest among all the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls, but they were also the ones that Lin Yuan needed the most. This need came from 3 sources. They were the floating island whale, Blue Jade, and Yin Lin, who was about to trade the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls with him. The Azure Federation was an enormous federation formed by countless islands. It was rich in all kinds of resources produced by the sea. Correspondingly, the demand for heavenly maiden-grade water elemental pearls was the highest. Furthermore, the Azure Federation had opened a Class 6 water world dimensional rift that was connected to the water world. The rare water attribute spiritual materials collected in the water world also needed pure water elemental energy to ripen. Lin Yuan also planned to increase Blue Jade's strength as soon as possible. Therefore, Lin Yuan had made such a distribution plan. With the guidance of the various spiritual materials, Lin Yuan quickly nurtured the elemental shellfish of various attributes. Subsequently, Lin Yuan spent a few hours upgrading the 6 elemental shellfish of various attributes to bronze/legend without stopping. After sitting on the chair for an entire night and completing the transaction with the Brahma insect cage, Lin Yuan immediately carried out the work of enhancing phase for nearly 8 hours. Lin Yuan could not help but feel a little tired, and his head was also a little dizzy. However, after seeing that he now had 3 scorching elemental shellfish, 3 celestial elemental shellfish, 5 aquamarine elemental shellfish, and 2 thick earth elemental shellfish, he felt a little satisfied. Lin Yuan's heart was filled with satisfaction. Fan Hansheng would also send over 9 infant elemental shellfish within 3 days. Even without those 9 infant elemental shellfish, just the 13 bronze/legend elemental shellfish that Lin Yuan currently possessed would allow him to cope with the consumption of the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls. Just as Lin Yuan was preparing to leave the Spirit Lock spatial zone to rest for a while, his phone rang. Lin Yuan heard an abnormally hoarse voice coming from the other end of the phone. Just as Lin Yuan was about to leave the Spirit Lock spatial zone to rest for a while, his phone rang. Lin Yuan heard an abnormally hoarse voice coming from the other end of the phone. From the hoarse and dry voice, Lin Yuan could hear a trace of forbearance. Lin Yuan could hear a trace of forbearance from the hoarse and dry voice. Hello, my name is Ji Feng. You told me to give you a call when I arrived at the capital. My name is Ji Feng. You told me to call you when I arrived at the royal capital. Lin Yuan was slightly startled when he heard the name. He had never heard of this name before. However, Lin Yuan already had a rough idea of who this Ji Feng was. At that moment, Lin Yuan heard the dry and hoarse voice say with some eagerness, "That's right. My name on Star Web is Floating World Sue's Calamity. My real name is Ji Feng. May I know when you have time?" Lin Yuan raised his brows. As expected, the person calling him was Floating World Sue's Calamity. Just as Lin Yuan was about to speak, he heard a muffled groan from the other end of the phone. It was followed by the sound of a heavy object falling to the ground, followed by Floating World Sue's Calamity's suppressed groan. Lin Yuan frowned when he heard the sudden change on the other end of the phone. It seemed like there were quite a few secrets on this herald of the world. After a long time, Lin Yuan heard the sound of someone getting up. On the other end of the line, Drifting World's voice spoke again. However, his voice became even drier and hoarser. Fujiwara's body was clearly collapsing from the intense pain, and even his voice was trembling from exhaustion. Presumably, the dry and hoarse voice of the Drifting World complaining of tribulations was also permanently damaged due to the excessive strain on the vocal cords. "Your soul is heavily injured?" Hearing the clear and pleasant voice coming from the other end of the phone, Yukiyoshi looked at his body covered in scars with a bitter expression and said with a bitter smile, "It's not as simple as my soul being injured. It's just that I can't quite put my finger on it." Upon hearing Floating World's words, Lin Yuan raised his eyebrows and said, "That's right. Since that is the case, go to the Royal Capital's Creation Master Association and wait for me. You're tuning into the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.